Hello and welcome to the Video Game Dads podcast. This is episode 15.
15?
Yeah, we have our learner's permit. We're just a few years away from smoking tobacco or vaping, if that's your pleasure. Hopefully not. And then in a few years, we'll be able to drink. So wonderful. Episode 15. We are the Video Game Dads podcast, where three guys in a basement talk gaming, fatherhood, and everything in between. We do have just two of us. I am Ben.
And I'm Adam.
Shane is, if you're new to the podcast, Shane is taking care of more important matters. Our hearts go out to him. We thank all the support that we've had.
Yeah, it's actually been really nice so far.
Yeah. He's taking care of his little girl, and she's going through treatments and kicking along, and he will be with us whenever he can. We're not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he does hop on a podcast sometime. But
yeah, or two here or there when he can, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but no rush.
So if you're interested and you want to find us on social media, you can find us on Twitter, which is
at Video Game Dads.
At Video Game Dads. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/videogamedads, or you can email us at
videogamedads@yahoo.com.
That's right.
You know what? After 15 episodes, that's the first time I got to say the thing. Yeah, we're power through it. It's a little different going from a trio to a duet, but we'll power through it. There's been a lot of news,
tons of news,
a lot of things to talk about this episode. Obviously, E3. We'll probably title this like E3 after the dust settles, because it's been a while, but this is our first podcast since E3, so. Some interesting things I think worth talking about. We're not usually like a news podcast. We talk about modern games and retro games, but that, and then of course the news about the NES or the Super Nintendo Mini Classic.
The Super Nintendo Mini Classic.
Yeah, coming out. That is going to be.
Yeah, I didn't want one at first just out of spite.
Yeah.
But now I really want one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. And also something neat with Shane. Shane's daughter was in the hospital during something we call Big Slick KC, where she got to meet some celebrities.
She did, yeah. They it was really cool because they were actually like Instagramming us pictures and photos and posted them all over Facebook and stuff. But Eric Stonestreet, which is one of the he's best known for Modern Family.
The guy from Modern Family, the big guy, yep.
Yeah, the big guy from Modern Family. And
Ant-Man, Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Ant-Man, Paul Rudd was there.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah, Weird Al.
Will Forte, who's from The Last Man on Earth. Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, I think all of the people who are in Freaks and Geeks, the TV show, if you've ever seen that, were there. But it was really cool because they were like playing cards together, and there's all these pictures of Lexi playing with, playing... I don't even know, Hungry Hungry Hippo with Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any crazier.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing gets any more bizarre than playing Hungry Hungry Hippos with Weird Al.
Yeah, super. Yeah, it was super weird because he was also really concentrating on like playing the game, and the other pictures like people are like photoing, and it's Weird Al like really like taking.
Yeah,
game
Weird
really
Al looked
seriously.
like he was dead serious about eating those marbles.
Yeah. But anyway, good for her. So that was a nice little story. But anyway, I guess we should go on to our normal first segment, which is our video game book club. All right, and our video game book club is a segment where each episode we pick a game that may be overlooked, misunderstood. You can say hidden gem that's kind of overused, just not in the top maybe 15% of any system's library. And we talk about it, or we play it in between episodes, and then we talk about it the following episodes. We also encourage our listeners to submit a pick. You can pick it over anything. It can be a handheld. It could be the Wonder Swan. It could be the Tiger R-Zone. It could be the TurboGrafx. We will move on to the TurboGrafx. The dads are currently on the Super Nintendo, so we get a lot of mentions. We've gotten a few submissions this time, which we will talk about after we talk about our two games. So one pick was from the Video Game Dads, and that was
my pick.
Yep, Adam.
And that was Wild Guns for the Super Nintendo / PlayStation 4.
Yeah, and / arcade.
/ arcade.
Yeah, Wild Guns. And then our listener pick, which was Robotrek.
Robotrek.
I said it right the first time. That's great. For the Super Nintendo, a game that neither of us really heard of.
Nope.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the first one we talk about. Boy, interesting game. This was a listener submission. It's kind of difficult because, we're dads, we have full-time jobs, and for the book club, this is kind of like an RPG. It's a soft RPG, but it's difficult to play one of these, obviously a huge amount of it. So sometimes we can only kind of give you a good taste of it, but we both got to play it. It's definitely a good pick, and Hidden Gem.
I would have really loved this game, I think, way back in the day. I actually would really love it now if I had more time to really get into it, I think. But
yeah, that's just it. I think it's a good recommendation for someone trying to get into something, and it's a great recommendation by the listener to actually picking something that I think still can be considered like a hidden gem, which is hard to say anymore. And it's funny, a quick aside, I think it's kind of hard for something to be a hidden gem from now on, now that we've coined the phrase. I've seen people say, on PlayStation 4, this game, like Until Dawn, it's going to be a hidden gem. It's like, it can't really be a hidden gem when you're saying it's a hidden gem now that it's out.
Yeah, and when it's a game that probably cost $100 million to make and has like big name actors.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, these kind of things, there was so many Super Nintendo games that did get lost and not talked about for like a decade or two. So that's worthy of it. But I mean, now that we have the internet and everything, I think that
and all of these new games are going to live in digital form. PlayStation 5, they're all going to be downloadable.
Which they did say recently. So Sony did say that's going to be a thing. PS5. I mean, they didn't give a release, but they did say like, yes, that will be the next iteration.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the PlayStation that plugs directly into the back of your head, like Matrix style.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah, like more Lawnmower Man or Matrix. Matrix probably.
I think more Matrix. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe. You have to be able to do the plug yourself, though, and I think Lawnmower Man you could, and in Matrix someone else had to plug you in.
Well, Lawnmower Man was just literally, I think, like you put on a headset, and then it was like it was like flashing in your head and getting in your brain that way. But Matrix was straight like audio jack.
yeah,
like a big
just the microphone jack right in the back.
Imagine
of the
a microphone jack blown up times 20 the size and then shoved in the back of your head. That's right.
You just say, I need to know Kung Fu.
I know. little
boom.
Little do we know the anatomy of the brain. That part of the brain especially, not really good for like having an apparatus there instead, because that's kind of like, that controls our centers of like breathing.
Yeah, that's the reptile part.
Yeah, that's our like most basic hind part of the brain. Like technically they probably should have stuck in their forehead. That might have been a little more realistic. I don't know why I'm trying to argue this realistic. It's friggin' Matrix, like red pill, blue pill.
No, yeah,
flying around.
Yeah, PlayStation won't even be a game console at that point. It'll just be you just do it to learn new stuff so that you can get to the Keymaster or whatever.
Yeah, can you imagine? That would be so distracting, seeing Keanu Reeves and Trinity like with a big hole in their forehead. Like when they kiss, they make sparks or something. Like they're like, okay, maybe we'll just put it in the back of the head. Maybe that's a better
The Matrix.
idea.
That is like my favorite / least favorite bunch of movies, I think.
Oh, bunch. I just think about the first one.
Or 3 movies. Well, I actually really like 2, and I know a lot of people don't like 2.
2's all right. That chase
3
scene
is one of the most disappointing things I have ever seen. Yeah. I was really jazzed up after the end of 2, and I was like, 3 is going to be awesome. Yep. I thought 2's kind of setting it up.
It was
going to be so cool. And then 3 was just a giant steaming.
Yeah. It was kind of like horrible. They just had all these ideas and they realized, we have to make a conclusion. And some people do that. They can start something and not finish it. I do that with.
But there are so many better ways to conclude it.
I know.
Than the way that they did.
I know. I do that with sentences. I realize like, when I listen back to the podcast, I'll start a sentence and then trail off. And I'm
no idea where it's going. And
I'm
then
like,
just,
oh my gosh, how do people listen to us? We really apologize for that. Anyway, so. Let's talk about this Robotrek. I don't know how we got onto the Matrix because this is not a good segue.
It has robots.
It does.
And so does Robotrek.
Oh, very good. Yeah, you're going to play Weatherman. So good. It's interesting. So this is an RPG. It was developed by...
Quintet.
And
it was published by Enix. Back before Enix was Square Enix.
And then the episode, last episode, we had Norm on, which was great. We appreciate that. It was kind of neat. We saw, because he was just in Norway. I looked at the analytics, and we had, a few downloads from Norway. And I was like, oh,
hi,
cool.
Norway.
Yeah, hi, Norway. Watch him not be there now. Like, Norm's not down there. We won't have him on. I think I just gave him a generalized
sorry,
German.
Norway.
Yeah, sorry, Norway. But anyway... so when we talked about this, we talked about the cover art being really interesting. Robotrek does sound futuristic, and the name of the game in Japan was called Slapstick. Totally doesn't sound like it should be transferred over to Robotrek.
Sounds like pies and faces stepping on rakes.
The cover's bright. It's like pink or orange. And then you get the US cover, and it's called Robotrek, not Slapstick anymore. There's no people on the cover, and
it's dark.
It's dark, and there's space, and
Sci-fi.
it's basically a round, pointed piece of the Death Star, and that's it. That's all that's on the cover. You should look it up and Google it because it's super weird.
Yeah, it's totally not what the game is really.
Yeah, and it's a pretty uncommon game. How did you look up the price?
Oh, I think it runs like $40.
Yeah, I think it's about
there.
40. Which honestly, if this was a better known game for the low print run, because I looked up the print run is between 18 and 22,000.
Oh, that's pretty low.
Yeah, which is pretty low, especially now. You got to figure half of them are toast, and then another quarter of them, who knows, maybe in a home somewhere. So there's not many out there. If it was a game that was pretty popular, let's say Angry Video Game, this would shoot up a ton just due to the low print run, like a 50 to 150, really fast. So hopefully any of the YouTube, what do you call those, like influencers? Yeah, YouTube
influencers. Yeah, that's a good word.
It sounds like that's the thing that like the DARE program told you to avoid.
Yeah,
right?
don't be influenced by the YouTubers.
Yeah. But I mean, that is now kind of where the age is going. Anyway, the YouTube influencers will generally make a game more expensive. They've done that before in the past. This is one that they would do that for. So let's see. Describing this game, it's an RPG. The battle systems are really interesting because you can kind of set it up like a move list. Just kind of go back, like, is there a synopsis story? We're going to read the back of the art, but what I like about it is it takes place in like present day, current future, as a lot of these RPGs.
Yeah, it's like Earthboundy.
Yes.
It's like today, modern, not feudalistic, whatever.
Yeah. And when you say Earthboundy, it's interesting because it's really just this and Earthbound. And Earthbound, everybody says like that's the only one that's kind of like that, in the back in the day. But it's Robotrek. So if you like Earthbound, I really think you'd like this game.
Yeah. And some people say that this game is kind of a precursor to the Pokemon.
Oh yeah,
because the Pokemans.
Yeah, because of the way you fight, right?
Yeah, because the way you fight, because it's not the main character that actually does the fighting.
Yeah, he throws like a ball out real quick, like right at the beginning, and
then he has other little robots
do
his bidding.
Yeah, and you can set up a move list ahead of time, like if you want to have certain like a heavy hit, a kick, a block, and you can kind of tune the fighting ahead of time, or you could just like do it real time and not have those kind of but I've heard like to get far in the game you kind of need to strategize a little bit. The music, I think it's kind of hit and miss. I'd say the music
it's averagey.
Yeah, it's average. I'd say there's good. Well, it's average because I think there's some that's good and there's some that's annoying, not just because it's kind of generally average. Like I think there's some good parts to it, but then during the fight system, the loop of the music, I think, is like maybe like 12 seconds or something. So, and of course, you're going to be in that fight for longer than that. So you're going to hear the music loop kind of quickly. So, but I did like the, it's traditional kind of overhead, overworld. And then when you're doing your turn-based fighting, which actually the fighting is interesting too, because you have a cooldown bar. Did you notice that? Yeah. So if you do like a heavy hit and you need your like cooldown bar to fill back up, the other guy can hit you as many times as you want until you kind of get that get the ability to hit again. So that's also kind of different for someone that's not used to an RPG. The tutorialness of it, I think, is good. It kind of helps you get into it.
Yeah, if you're not a big RPG person, this is kind of akin to I don't know, something like Mario RPG or Illusions of Gaia.
Very good. Yeah,
one of these other games that's kind of it's action, but it's got enough RPG to it that if you were to play this game and then move into something like a Final Fantasy, it would make sense to you at some point.
Yes,
like. I at least remember when I was a kid, I didn't get RPGs at all. I remember trying to play a Final Fantasy and just being confused. I don't know what all these menus are. Like, why can't I just jump on this guy?
Yeah.
But I had to play a few sort of quasi-adventure RPG-ish kinds of things to sort of figure it out,
Yeah.
so to speak.
And
this
Zelda did it perfectly.
Yeah, Zelda is one of those games, but this game definitely falls into that kind of a category, sort of a gateway game to a bigger realm.
Yeah, and it also seems to take a lot of good ideas from a lot of different games. It's hard for me to say if like some of that was before the game came out or after the game came out, as far as like was it first done in Robotrek. It's so hard to say that name of the game. The other thing is, I don't know how many times this week I forgot the name of the game, and I was almost going to text you again, like, what is the name of this game? Because even after playing it, Robotrek is just so forgettable. And
yeah, it is a fairly generic name. It's sort of like Star Trek, and then it's kind of like robots, and I mean, I just thinking back to the '90s. I mean, this is totally like one of those dude sitting in a room like, what are the kids going to think is cool?
Yeah,
let's call it Robotrek.
We've talked about
like
that before,
yeah.
but this is I really think that's what happened.
Yeah.
From the cover to the name, I mean, they weren't helping themselves out at all. Like it was almost like set up to fail.
Well, sort of, yeah, and it would have done better had they just embraced what it is.
Yeah.
And because it's the same style, at least artwork wise, as well. I keep going back to Illusions of Gaia,
Yeah,
which is well, and the reason why is because that's also a quintet game. But they did. I looked it up, but they did a whole bunch of Super Nintendo games: ActRaiser, Soul Blazer, ActRaiser 2, Illusions of Gaia, Terra Enigma. Anyway, if you look at any of these games, they all have a very similar art style to them. You know, the kids with I don't really know how to describe it, but the kids with the big heads and kind of
the big heads, nicely shaped eyes, and generally spiky of the hair.
Yeah, but Japanese. But they're all very, very similar in overall look. But they're also they don't look intimidating, right? I mean, the characters, the game, everything in the game is very approachable, but they kind of made it not look approachable. With the artwork, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's interesting. It's really a big amalgamation of just so many different ideas. But again, I would highly recommend this. It's tough because this isn't usually my genre, and again, I didn't have as much time with it as I wanted. But that's what this is for, right? It's kind of a book club, and we curious to hear your thoughts too. If any of our listeners have any kind of good memories about this game, or would recommend this, or give their thoughts on this too. I'm kind of interested to hear what they say, because of course we didn't beat it or anything.
No, well, I beat it like 5 times. I was speed running it actually just before this. Yeah,
I didn't. So I didn't even look up the ending, but I did play it for a little bit, and it's it just like any RPG, it takes a little bit to get going. But again, this is a good one to get if you want something that is uncommon. Your buddy's never heard of it. It's not like overly done, even though it's great. Illusions of Gaia. We talked about Legend of Zelda. There's so many Chrono Trigger. There's a bit of Chrono Cross to it too, right? Chrono Trigger or whatever. This is one that I think should kind of be in this. It's not epically amazing, but it's definitely better than not hearing about this at all from all three of us, even Shane.
And there are similar games that you do hear more about: Secret of Mana, Evermore, those kinds of games. And I think it definitely sort of sets sort of along like the Evermore kind of echelon of Super Nintendo game, even though people don't know it as well. Yeah,
so I think it's very good. I'd say we'd recommend it. Do we have the back of the box ready? I don't. We could talk about. Why don't you talk about Wild Guns real quick, and I'll bring up the back of the box on my own, so we don't.
All right, so we'll move on to Wild Guns here, which was my pick, and I partially I picked this for 2 reasons. One was Natsume published and developed it, and supposedly the development team for this game is only like 3 people, which I think is kind of neat.
You're kidding.
Well, at least that's what Wikipedia says, and everything on Wikipedia is true.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, so it's an Natsume game. It's real simple, straightforward. It's I don't even know really how to describe it. It's a shooter. It's a gallery shooter.
It's a gallery shooter.
So you have characters in the foreground,
background. So
and how about shooting things in the background?
A 2-plane gallery shooter.
Yes,
I don't know if that's what it should be called, but that
sounds like a good description. Yeah, but you have your characters, and they're in the foreground, and then there's bad guys in the background, and you they're shooting at you, and you're shooting at them, and you have to dodge their bullets. And the controls are all very simple. You basically have a shoot button, a jump button, which is not really a jump as much as it is a dodge.
Yes.
And then you have a bomb button.
Yeah.
Of which you only get like 3 per life.
I know. Yeah, 3 per life. And then I didn't see. Do we have an opportunity to get a bomb or no?
No, there are power ups that drop. So there are things like the shotgun, which it's more powerful, wider spread of shot. There's a
The only reason I ask is we obviously played it. It's more just like you pick them up so quickly.
It's
it
just
doesn't
so
really
random.
say what it is.
There's so much stuff going on, and I had actually played it by myself quite a bit, and then hadn't played it 2-player because I've got no friends other than Benjamin.
Yeah. So
And so we just played a 2-player right before we recorded, and it's way easier 2-player than it is 1-player.
It's a completely different game.
Significantly easier. That you can kind of call out to your buddy like, hey, it's that that shot's coming your way, or look out here, or whatever. So it's good single player, but it's really good with 2 people. Like it's a lot better multiplayer than single player. But I recently picked up a copy of it off of a big trade that I did, and then the re-release, and it's a physical re-release on the PS4 that I picked up. I kind of wanted to play both versions kind of at the same time and sort of compare them. And I actually like the Super Nintendo version better, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously it's neat to play it on a big screen, and if you don't have a CRT, that would be the better one to play is the PS4, just because of what happens when you put a old system on a big TV. Then it'll mess up anything that you initially would have because it was expecting scan lines and it doesn't get it, and then the HD TV doesn't know what to do with this archaic image you're trying to give it, so it changes the quality. But I really wish I would have known about this as a kid. I would have loved it.
I would have loved this game as a kid.
And the other thing, I would have had it before it was super popular. And now,
it's expensive. The card only is like $150, $170.
It's that. And what's the one that's like the Cowboys and Indians shooter that always gets
Sunset Riders?
Yeah, Sunset Riders.
Yeah, this is not as good as Sunset Riders.
Yeah,
but it's really good. It feels like Sunset Riders, if that makes sense.
It's a little, but Sunset Riders still has a little left to right.
Yeah. Sunset Riders scrolls and
and this is very much a gallery shooter, but boy, it does not feel like, say, you're playing a Wii game or something like that. Because I really think like gallery shooters got kind of ruined with like motion controls and
a
things
little
like
bit,
that.
Yeah, and even some of the like 32-bit era light gun games, they just get a little bit too simple, where it's like, oh, here's some stuff that just kind of flips across the screen and you have to shoot it sort of thing. And it kind of gets old, kind of gets a little bit generic, and the novelty wears off with some of that stuff. Like even like Link's Crossbow Challenge on the Wii, which I actually really like that game, but it's not a very deep game. And it is just things pop up and you just kind of shoot them.
And we talked about like maybe if those don't know, the whole setting and the characters.
Yeah, so it's Old West.
Yep. Old West, but also like robotics.
Yeah, it's like Wild Wild West with Will Smith. Wild West.
Yeah, like steampunk, and with Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline. Yeah. But yeah, so they're robots for some reason, but it's Wild West. There's only 2 characters. You get to pick from Clint, who is a
generic big guy,
a big strapping generic cowboy guy, and then I can't remember the gal's name.
Yeah, I
don't
either.
Bonnie or something.
Yeah,
but
it's something
right.
it's something like Bonnie, but she looks like Bo Peep from Toy Story.
Yeah, she just looks kind of. They're both very, very stereotypical.
Yeah,
that's how people should look back then, kind of folks.
Yeah. But when you're getting the dynamite and it's getting thrown at you and you jump away. If they didn't have the jump button, oh boy, this game would be...
Oh yeah, it'd be impossible.
It'd be impossible, and then not nearly as fun. So that you can dive out of the way, or you can do a jump and a double jump, which I somehow didn't realize that while I was playing it for the hours single player. It is kind of like a choose your own adventure. After you get past the first level, you can kind of pick and choose which level you want to do, a la, I don't know, Mega Man.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. What about the music?
I thought the music's good. It's good, catchy, it's quick. It actually sounds, since we're talking about Mega Man, it actually, the songs would not be too foreign to a Mega Man game.
Yeah. It's, again, the sound quality also, it's similar when you're playing it on the HD version, obviously cheaper, or if you're playing it, dumping the ROM somewhere.
It's very Super Nintendo sounding.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good game. I don't even think it's the funny. It's not. It's people hold on to this game for a reason because this is not a low print run game. It shouldn't be as much as it is.
Yeah.
They made a lot of these. It was pretty popular back in the day. Got rented a lot, from what I understand. So, I would argue to say, unless you obviously find it for cheap, is it worth that kind of scratch? Oh, just go for the HD
probably
version.
not.
Unless
I was able to trade some double games that I had picked up at a garage sale for it. Is how I got a hold of it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to do it if you're a collector like us crazy kids, is to trade away some commons or whatever, some nice doubles or something like that. What year did it come out?
It came out in 94. Both these games came out in 94.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Neat. And they're both like completely different from one another. They're, the audience, hopefully what's neat about this is like one of these should tickle your pickle if you're listening to this. And we apologize because our lingo for like RPGs is not as good as some others because we're not huge RPG players. But that's kind of part of this is like picking a game we would have never heard of and, getting into it and then being able to like recommend it and then also finding the value in like some style of game that we normally wouldn't play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I get older, I feel like around my college years or whatever, early 20s, I was kind of really liked playing RPGs. But now that I'm older, and I've got a kid, and I just have 30 minutes here or an hour there or whatever, I'm totally, let's play some shooters, let's play some quick arcadey kinds of things, and this is exactly that kind of game.
Yep, and didn't you just buy Valkyria Chronicles or something?
Yeah, I
too?
did.
Yeah. So when are you going to play that?
Never.
Just
I've got several games that I'm never. I mean, eventually, I'm saving them for retirement.
Okay.
And you think I'm joking, but I look at the shelf and I think, one of these days, retirement. Yeah.
I did the math one time when I thought about all the games I have that I haven't played, and I'm thinking like, well, you should, and not everybody does that, and you really should probably just, if you're new to collecting, just collect the stuff you're going to play. Unless you're just meaning to pick games up to then trade or
but I have
whatever.
I have a lot of like really good PlayStation 2 RPGs that I've never, I'm never going to have the time, at least in the next decade, to sit down and actually really get into them. But I really want to play them at some point, so they're just gonna sit there until I have time to.
Until you want to get rid of them.
I've got my emergency PS2, my backup PS2. So
you never know.
They'll be there eventually. And I've got several PS3 games that are kind of that way too. They're just kind of waiting for their time.
If this basement became a fallout shelter, you would want to be down here because think about this. Let's say close the door. A la Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone. Do you know this movie?
I've seen previews.
It's amazing. I think we've already talked about it on the podcast
early on. Best Picture winner.
I like it. It's actually very good. Nathan Fillion is in it.
He's in it. He's cool.
Yeah.
You ever seen Slither with him?
Is that the one
most underrated horror movie ever? I love that.
Is that the one where it comes out of the bathtub?
It's like it's the aliens from space that attach to your brainstem or whatever.
I think so. Yeah.
Great movie.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Slither.
And what's the other one? Firefly. That was the show.
Oh, Firefly was great.
Serenity. Sure. Serenity, the movie. He's in that. Yeah.
I like both those things by the guy who now does all the like Avengers movies and whatever. So anyway, so these picks are both great. We are going to stay. Anything else we want to talk about these two?
I don't think so.
Just
we got some both recommended. They're both good games.
Yeah, great for the Video Game Book Club. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate all our new listener picks. Why don't we first do the dad pick, which is my turn. This is going to be the last pick on the Super Nintendo. If you're getting tired of the Super Nintendo, rejoice, because on our next episode, we will be moving on to the TurboGrafx 16.
The TurboGrafx 16, or we could probably sneak in a PC Engine game, maybe.
Yeah.
Since they're the same thing.
Yeah, a PC Engine.
It took me a long time to figure that out.
Really? Because the shape of that system.
When I was a kid, but I used to read these magazines to say, "Oh, the PC Engine version." I'd be like, "PC Engine, is that like a computer?"
Oh, computer. That makes sense.
Is that like a computer? And so I was like a teenager or something by the time I figured out, like, oh, PC Engine is the TurboGrafx in Japan, and it was huge.
That makes sense.
Over there, even though the TurboGrafx wasn't that big here. The only thing I remember about TurboGrafx from when I was a kid was the Sears catalog. They always had them in like the Sears or JCPenney catalogs or whatever, but I never actually saw one in a store. Did not know anybody that owned one.
They were in the more adult section of, what was EB Games was called Software Etc. I don't know if this was a regional thing, but it was literally called Software and then ETC dot. And that was before it was between that and like Funko Land. But anyway, Software Etc. I remember seeing the older guys were playing the TurboGrafx, and it was also a kind of against the wall. Like the Game Boy stuff, Nintendo was like right when you walk in, and if you wanted to play TurboGrafx, Neo Geo, what else? 3DO. Those were all kind of along the back wall. The titles were a lot more mature. It just wasn't. It was something that I just thought like, oh, that's cool. I don't know anybody that talks about that and plays it, but I ended up, of course, having a friend
as
at
an
one
adult,
point.
having gone back or being able to play these now, they're great.
Yeah. And I did have a friend that did, I don't remember how or who or what, or it was maybe my mom's boss's kid or something like that, and we ended up playing the TurboGrafx. So I really liked it. I just didn't get as much opportunity, obviously, as the big, the Super Nintendo, Genesis, that kind of thing. But anyway, we're on to our last Super Nintendo game for this round. Obviously, listener picks can continue to pick from this system. And it's my turn. And I am doing a last-minute change in my head. Adam doesn't know what I'm picking.
I don't know. I'm interested.
So I can tell you what I was going to pick because the listener almost picked it, Blackthorn. I really wanted to pick that. So
Which version? Oh, Super Nintendo
Super
version.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
So if there's any...
I was going to say, I really want to play the 32X version, actually.
Oh, okay.
Of that game. But,
all right. Do you have it?
No, it's expensive. It's like $200.
Okay, let's not pick that one. But
it looks really cool.
Okay. All right. Well, if we ever find it, then I guess we could play it, but that wouldn't be... if any listener wants to pick that for their video game book club, please do. Or I'll just make a dummy account. And no, I'm just kidding. Email ourselves. Anyway, so I was originally going to pick that, but now with our new news coming up, I'm going to make a pick. This is kind of a dark horse pick, and I will explain my pick here in a second, why we're going to do this and why it's still a viable pick, because this is a game. My Super Nintendo pick for the Video Game Dad's Book Club for the next episode will be Star Fox 2.
Star Fox 2? Is that even a thing?
It is a thing.
It's a thing?
It's a thing. So, okay, we'll talk about this in a minute, but, the news was Star Fox 2 unreleased. A lot of people didn't even know this thing was a thing. They didn't know the backstory behind it. I actually have this, and I've played it before, and I really like it. Unreleased game that was basically 95% done. Actually, It was fully done, but the only ROMs you got was the kind of 90. They say it's 95%. There's a lot of weird back and forth as far as...
it just needed a little polish still put on it, right?
Yeah, supposedly, but like out of, the creator...
it's a super ambitious game for a Super Nintendo game.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And so the reason behind why this was never released, even though it was completed, because Nintendo's Nintendo, is because Star Fox 64 was going to come out within the same year. The Saturn and PlayStation came out earlier than Nintendo was anticipating, and they really didn't want to put this out there because they thought it wouldn't compete with what they're doing,
Dragoon,
and it would also maybe take some sales from this upcoming Ultra 64 that was going to have Star Fox.
Ultra 64.
So Star Fox 2, I have played it before. We're just going to make that the pick. I really enjoy it. It's pretty different than the original Star Fox. I have it on a kind of custom cart that has Star Fox 2, and the Star Fox Super Weekend. So we will be able to play it. I generally wouldn't pick this because it's not a release, and this way it's kind of hard for, let's say, people at home to be able to play it, even though you could maybe go to SNES Fun or something like that and figure out how to get the ROM. But this is a good way to maybe get anticipate or excited about if you're looking forward to getting the SNES Mini to see what we think of Star Fox 2. Because, we don't always get a lot of listener reactions to what our book club segment is pretty popular, but I don't know if we get a lot of people's, I think what ends up happening is people listen to it and then get excited and think, oh, when I see this game in the future, I might pick it up based on what we said, let alone is this some interactive like you are playing it. So that is why I'm picking it. So sorry if this is an untraditional pick, but I'm just trying to justify why I'm switching to this because I think it's interesting. I think it'd be cool if we both play it and talk about it with this new recent news of it actually being released in some form. So that's going to be the Video Game Dad's Book Club pick is Star Fox 2 for the Super Nintendo. Adam, let's go on to our listener submissions.
Yeah, so here's we have a few. So
New submissions.
Yeah, so Kevin says, "Hey guys, podcast is fantastic. Since I discovered it a couple weeks ago, I've been binging the episodes. Currently on episode 12. Hopefully, he's up to episode 14 now.
Oh, I'm sure.
As a 35-year-old father of a 5-year-old, everything you talk about is perfect. I'm a collector too. A solid group of games from all the Nintendo, Segas, Xbox, PlayStations, etc. Most notably, a 170 game collection for the Sega Master, which he's very proud of.
Oh, that's different. Nice.
Yeah, at one point I fancied myself a Sega Master collector, but I didn't have the chops for it.
And it's also, part of collecting is showing it to your friends. And like, I said earlier, when I'm collecting weird SingStar for PS3, it's like, it's hard to get excited about it if you're not excited about yourself. And, I'm sure there's a lot of Master System collectors out there, but there's also a part of like, you're collecting something that maybe it's hard to like, play this with somebody else or talk about it or say, hey, I got this really weird variant.
It's a thing that, people don't have a lot of frame of reference for. And I remember seeing Master System games in like the rental store and stuff and just being confused. Like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Sega Master, what?
Yeah, and the box art didn't help. I remember being a kid and now,
it's like plaid. It's like white.
Yeah, it's plaid. It felt like it was like
plaid.
some import, which it mainly is, right? It's kind of like an import version of the Genesis / version of the like NES. It's the Sega version of the NES basically, but it had a lot of great games. I love my Game Gear.
It's a cool system.
Yeah, and if you collect for it, you might as well I don't know, collect the Game Gear too, because that's basically
the same thing.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
So he says he's going to recommend. He could recommend tons of games, but he's going to give us two. The first one being Astal. I think that's how it's pronounced. ASTAL.
Sure,
for the Sega Saturn.
A stall.
Saw it in a store. It's one of the more sought after ones. It's very well done and a very good looking game. I have played it before. I'll have to agree on that. It is a good looking game.
It's a 2D side scroller.
It's a 2D side scroller platformer type game. It's basically exactly what the Saturn was designed to play.
Yep.
So there's that game, and then also he recommends Booger Man on the Genesis, which I'm not really sure what that's about. It sounds really highbrow.
I think, it was kind of like Earthworm Jim. It's like, hey, again, this is
It
just
is.
like
It's the
guys
whole
saying like,
90s
hey, what
gag.
little boys are
Yeah.
dirty. Maybe they'll like playing with boogers.
Yeah. So Booger Man for the Genesis. I actually remember seeing all of the
ads.
Yeah, the ads for
Oh,
these. Yeah,
man.
they were like Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah.
It's like the same whole vein of stuff.
It's kind of gross. Yeah.
So so he recommends that. Both these picks are great for me because I have both games. But I think we're gonna go with Astal on this one just because we want to give the Saturn some love.
Yeah, we're going to go with Astal or Astal just because this would be the first kind of thing entered in the pool from the Sega Saturn. And it's a game that many people played, especially because you were moving on to the 3D realm. And really, this game back then, of course, if you take this or Tomb Raider or whatever, obviously I'd rather play this. But back in the day, it's like, hey, what's 2D? So
yeah, 2D was so old school back in the day. Yeah, But the 2D games on Saturn are for the most part pretty fantastic. Just in general.
So we will add that to the pool. Thank you very much for that email and submission.
So here's another one from Thorin or Nerdtron64.
Okay.
I guess that's his handle.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, Nerdtron64. Hey dads, love the podcast. Actually heard it from Bithead 1000. Thanks, Bithead.
Hey, nice.
He's a dad himself. One baby girl, 16 months old, and one on the way. So I just wanted to share one of his favorite games, which is Claymates for the Super Nintendo.
Whoa. Okay. What's that?
It's I do remember playing this at some point.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember much about it. It's like I think it's like a fighting game, but it has claymation characters, or maybe it's an action platform. I don't remember, but I remember it has a little bendy claymation type.
But it doesn't have anything to do with Clay Fighters. Or is it a precursor?
It might be. I actually think maybe it's the same developer. I'm not sure on that.
Interesting.
But yeah, there was a whole clay fascination.
There was.
back then.
Yeah.
And so this is part of that.
Okay, cool.
So Claymates,
Nice.
which is a play on words, I think,
Yeah.
in some way.
Nice. Are they wearing bikinis? Just kidding.
And then another one, Kyle, who actually sold you your Wii U kiosk.
Oh, yeah.
He recommends.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Thanks for the Wii U kiosk. And he also recommends Vice Project Doom. for the NES,
okay.
which is also one of the best names for a game in the
Yeah.
history of video games.
Yeah, yeah.
Vice Project Doom.
That's become popular, but again, a good suggestion because it's definitely not in the top 15.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a cool game. It's got awesome cover art, and
Yeah.
it's just a cool name.
Reminds me of Narc a lot.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And you know, there's a movie, I'm sure of it, and it stars Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, okay.
And then
Yeah, that's a great game. So that's good. Okay.
yeah, and then sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Raymond recommends Soul Blazer, which is a fantastic game. It's part of the unofficial trilogy of The Legend of Gaia, which I think that's supposed to be Illusion of Gaia and Terranigma.
Okay.
For SNES, and has a really unique story. So that's his first one. Then he also gives us a second pick, which is Shadow Dancer, which is a ninja game like Shinobi. It's really hard, one hit kills.
Ooh.
So it sounds like it's going to be brutal, and
We could take it.
yeah, we can take it.
We've
So
lived life. We changed
we're
diapers.
going to go with Shadow Dancer on this.
Yeah, because I've said it sounds like an 80s romantic comedy.
It does. It sounds exactly like an 80s romantic comedy. I'm going to put on my leotard.
Yeah.
And we're going to
Flash Dancer.
And we're going to play some Shadow Dancer.
Yeah, it's just like, I get what they're saying, right? Because a ninja is kind of dancing in the shadows, but it totally makes me feel like, the secretary with her double life working in a bar as, an adult worker meets her boss, just like.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze's in this one.
Yes.
Yeah, Jean-Claude's in Vice Project Doom. Patrick Swayze's in Shadow
100%.
Dancer.
Yeah.
And Kevin Bacon. It's actually Patrick Swayze and Kevin Bacon dancing together in Shadow Dancer.
Oh, gosh, nice. That was before Tu Wong Fu.
Yeah, before Tu Wong Fu. Tu Wong Fu is actually the sequel to this
What a
game.
weird movie no one talks about also. Tu Wong Fu, thanks for everything. That's just,
I've never actually seen that movie.
really?
Yeah, I remember when it came out, it was kind of a thing. But,
It was a thing. I think
I don't remember it at
I
all.
don't know, man. The 80s and 90s, when you think back, like, we get made fun of a lot, and I see, like, this here now, teenagers look on the videos on YouTube where they go back and, like, look at stuff that's not that old, and they're like, oh my gosh, this looks crazy. Like, yeah, we were pretty weird
Yeah,
in
it
the 90s.
kind of was. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have those added to the randomizer with all of our other submissions, which, like, there's some stuff in there that's been there a long time.
It
like,
is. I'm kind of rooting for some of the old.
Yeah, like
stuff
Maniac
that's in here.
Mansion. I really want to play that.
Yeah, I'm thinking I want Maniac Mansion, or
What else do we got?
I don't know. We got Mickey Mania. That'd be a good
Dude,
one
that's
to
been there a
have.
while too.
There's a couple in here I needed to delete, actually.
Oh, because they've already been. Well,
'Cause they've
you know,
already been
if they get pulled up, we just won't play them again. So you don't.
Yeah.
Need
All right. So I'm gonna hit the randomize button here. 3,
Oh
2,
boy,
1.
here we go. What do we got?
Shadowrun SNES.
Oh, all right.
Shadowrun.
Wow. Okay, so we keep going. Man, the SNES just
Yeah.
does not want to die.
From Chuck from Kansas City.
Chuck from Kansas
Chuck from
City.
Kansas City.
Wow, Kansas City.
Shadowrun on
I've heard
this.
Kansas City. Is that in Missouri or Kansas?
It's in both.
It's in
turns
both.
out.
I don't know. It's so weird.
It is weird.
Those people in the Midwest. So cool. Shadowrun. What type of game is this?
I think it's a. I've actually never played it. I think it's sort of an action RPG-ish.
Yeah, it is.
kind of game.
Nice. We're gonna get back into it. Great.
More action RPGs.
Yeah, but very highly collectible game.
Yep,
And
it is a highly collectible game. And so we're going to do Shadowrun for the listener pick, and we're doing Star Fox Dos.
Yep.
That's Spanish for two.
Two for the Super
For the Super
Nintendo.
Nintendo.
So they're both for Super Nintendo. A good swan song to sign off the Super Nintendo for the Turbo Graphics coming soon. But that will be our video game book club picks. Oh, I almost forgot. We needed to talk about the back of the box. I finally pulled up Robotrek. So this part we just kind of see if the back of the box is a good representation of this game. And a lot of times there's some fun to be had with these weird advertising clips they put in. So back of the box on the American version of Robotrek. Welcome to Rococo.
Rococo.
Yeah, with an exclamation point. Like, we know where that is. Since moving into town, these are the only words you've heard all day. Being the son of a world-famous inventor doesn't seem to help either. Oh, yeah, his dad looks like Einstein. I think he's even called, like, his name is, like, similar to Einstein. Someday people will call you the world's greatest inventor. Rich and famous. Wow. That's the end of the
Wow.
yeah, like that's your only point.
Zowie.
Your only point in life is to be rich and famous. You can hardly wait to get your hands on the invention machine, in quotes, your father built in the basement. If only he would let you near it. This is really weird. Okay, last for now.
Apparently, whoever wrote this saw the first 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah, so this is the last paragraph. For now, a rogue band of pirates called hackers have invaded Rococo. Everyone has panicked. No one seems to know what they want. Oh, what they want. I just thought about it, like, no, the whole town is chaos and they're just lackadaisical. Nobody knows what they want. Half of you wants to help your father with the hackers, while the other half is dying to get downstairs. If only you could find a way. Bored stiff, you decide to read a book. That's when it hits you. Welcome back to another great RPG from Enix. What the heck?
I don't know who writes these things.
I just I don't even have a comment for this because this seems like the guy who's smoking some reefer came up with this. It's like, yeah, what a weird representation. Normally they'll tell you 50 levels, action for days. This was just, I'm glad I read
every
this.
time we read one of these, I think of the guy that plays the newspaper editor in the Spider-Man movies, where he just says something crazy, and he's like, "Print it, just print it." That's exactly the way that this comes from. It's just some dude just print it,
yeah,
just get it out.
Yeah, this didn't get vetted by anybody.
No, there's just one editor. Just this is gonna be perfect.
This box is stupid on the front and the back. All right, tell us about Wild Guns.
All right, so Wild Gun says the young and beautiful Annie went to see Clint. That's the two characters. We couldn't remember it earlier. We said Bonnie. It's actually Annie.
Yep.
The renowned space bounty hunter. So they're space bounty hunters, apparently.
Yes, of
in
course.
the Old West, of course. And this is in quotes. My entire family was abducted and killed by the Kidd family. So I'm assuming that's Billy the Kid.
Of course.
I will pay you whatever you want to help me get rid of those villains. And then Clint says, I don't need any help, in a haughty voice. I insist on helping, replied Annie.
They actually said in a haughty voice.
Yeah, in a haughty voice. I have a personal vendetta against the Kidd family, and besides, I bet I am as good a shot as you are. We will see about that. Let's go get them.
Okay. Awesome.
And that's the end of the. And then they have little robots flying on the back here that look like batteries not included.
Oh yeah.
I don't even remember those guys from the game. I guess maybe I didn't get that far.
No, we didn't get that far. It's funny because it's totally changed. Back of the box is totally different now. Now it's all about peacocking and how awesome our game is and Game of the Year awards and quotes from magazines. This is just literally some guys we don't know what we're doing. It's kind of like when Arnold Schwarzenegger did that DVD commentary of Total Recall, where this is before someone could, he knew what this is for. It's not giving a play-by-play of the movie. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're missing out on one of the funniest things you can. I think about every 6 months to a year, I rewatch Arnold Schwarzenegger's DVD commentary of Total Recall. Have you seen this?
I have not seen it, but now I want to.
Oh my gosh! So
Total Recall is one of my favorite old movies.
Oh, me too.
I
Dude,
love that movie.
I can watch Total Recall for days. So what happens is this was done in literally 2002, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is pre-governor, and he's still crazy.
When he was still chasing housemaids.
Yeah, and the director is Paul Verhoeven, and he's foreign and kind of goofy and weird himself. Arnold Schwarzenegger literally gives a play-by-play of the movie during the DVD commentary, and it's of course at the beginning he's like, "Hello, I'm here, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I am a horse running right at you." Because at the beginning of the movie they have that unicorn horse running. It's he thinks it's funny. He's like, "Oh, this is the part of the movie where I shoot the guy. See, he is dead. He is dead because I shot him. Oh, this is fantastic. This is yes." And then of course Paul Verhoeven comes in and talks here and there about this is when we're in this Toronto airport, and he's like, "Oh yes, this is a part of the movie where essentially oh, see, look at this punch. It's just oh yes, this is a part where they put the thing in my nose, and it's just everybody loved it. Everybody, it's just oh yeah, and Sharon Stone, yes, this scene was hard when we were and just it's hilarious. They have highlight clips of it, but it's worth the hour and a half, 2 hours just to listen to the entire thing. I don't know. Sorry, I got really far off. But anyway, that was the back of the box segment. We should move on to our current events, which is this wonderful news that we got that the Nintendo. This was highly anticipated because really there was a leak about this that was pretty with good sources saying that they were going to release this
for
thing
a while.
So Nintendo obviously announced the SNES Classic Mini. You can get good news. Likely you've already heard about this if you're listening to this type of podcast. So really, we're going to get the nuts and bolts of this. Thing's going to be released in what, October, September?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, September, October this year. The big issue we had last time, we talked about this if you listen to an old episode, we were dumbfounded that the old edition, they completely missed the mark on demand and, only sold 12 million units?
Oh, something like that. But, I have and actually this is not a theory that I've seen floated out there all that much.
Okay.
I have a theory about why they didn't make enough of them or why they discontinued them.
All right. I've heard them all. Let's see.
Maybe I'm sure someone has come up with this theory, but people hack them. They've been hacked a million times. Like Nintendo just sees everybody hacking it and loading a bunch of ROMs onto it.
Yeah.
And they're just manufacturing a machine so that people won't buy their eShop games.
Oh.
So I think they discontinued it just because of the piracy issue.
Okay.
Or I wouldn't be surprised if that played a very big role because Nintendo has always been very sensitive about piracy stuff.
Okay.
In general.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean,
September 29th, according to this.
September 29th.
To CNET.
Yeah, that's a good interesting theory as to why. I mean, they've said publicly they missed the mark on anticipation. It's always meant to be something that was going to be limited, yet they didn't say it was going to be limited, which your theory might hold some water that...
Yeah, but I also don't think that they want to run out there and be like, yeah, we discontinued it because it's super easy to hack it and put a bunch of games on it.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't. But, it's like what... Obviously, that's going to happen. They were able to hack it pretty quickly, and then they were able to hack it where you could put like almost any kind of game on it. Even they were trying to get running like 64 stuff. We don't have one of those things because the big issue was supply.
Yeah, and I won't spend $200 on one.
Yeah, and they did a release, a statement without getting into big specifics that they are going to make more of these. Mm-hmm. They said significantly more. That's the quote that Nintendo said. It's like when they said, talking about the issues that, a lot of what I've seen from this news is a lot of people are still really bitter about not getting one. I'm not, because
I don't feel like they owed me anything. I wish I could have gotten one, but I'm not like, oh, my life is over now.
Yeah, because it is, at the end of the day, it's an at-TV games. The neatest thing about it was the box and the look of it. You could play these games in any level. And, the price was good. The games were good. It's a neat little device. But in such high esteem that this thing was held, I didn't get too upset when I didn't get one. I was more just frustrated that the scalpers really took it over.
Yeah, it's annoying to get on Craigslist and see people trying to sell them for $300.
Well, and especially when you see they have a stack of 12 somehow.
Yeah,
and
they've got a whole trunk full of them.
But I think they're doing better because so when this thing was released, Amazon even there aren't any official pre-orders out yet as of this because we're recording this one of the last days in June right now. Mm-hmm. Pre-orders are going to be on the obvious places, Amazon, Walmart. They haven't announced anything, but they did do an Amazon UK pre-order, and I luckily have it pre-ordered. Mm-hmm. So I luckily got in on there. I tried to message you guys, but like literally it was up for
by the time I saw
minutes.
The message, it was already
I would have ordered more than one, which would have been good for you, but it bypassed some scalpers because you could only make one order per account. So I'm sure people made more accounts and probably got around that as quick as they could. But I was able to pre-order one, and so that's nice. So I'll at least get the UK version, which is going to be different because the Super Nintendo obviously is slightly different. Yep. The Super Famicom.
It probably has a keyboard on it in the UK. Sorry, UK.
Yeah.
All your video game consoles have keyboards.
Yeah. But, we should probably just go down the game list price. It's going to be $80. It comes with, right, $79.99?
Yeah, I think that's right.
$79.99. And, because it's 20 more than the last one, and it comes with the extra controller.
Yep.
Which I think is a fair price point because the number of games, so the original had 30 and this one got 22, the original NES.
I kind of wish that we, not to dog on the Super Nintendo, but the Super Famicom just looks cooler than the Super
I know,
Nintendo.
that's the one I get.
Yeah, the European one and the Japanese one actually do look cooler than ours just because it's a Super Famicom, just a better shell.
Yeah, and it's just, it's rounded, and ours is still, but I mean, I played this one, so it's fine to get one this shape if I'm able to get an American version, I guess. So the game list.
The game list.
Do you have it right there?
I do, yeah.
Okay, these are great.
So
this is a good game
Number
list.
one, there's an alphabetical order.
All right.
So number one is Contra 3.
Great game.
The Alien Wars. Fantastic game.
Expensive game.
Expensive game.
How much is that game?
I don't know. You could buy a card only for probably $50.
Okay.
But,
all right. So we're already at over
this
half
is actually
of it.
one of the best Super Nintendo games I have in my collection. I have a kiosk copy of Contra 3, The Alien Wars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That I got for like $15 or $20, I think. Yeah, and I don't even know what it's worth. I just know I've never seen another one.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, it says property of Nintendo all over it, kiosk, blah, blah, blah.
Cool. Yeah, so, those are a lot more common on the coasts where like you're closer to the actual headquarters.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of cool. And it is the full game. But I actually remember playing it on a SNES kiosk, back in the day.
Contra 3 is great.
Contra 3 is great. Fantastic game. Some people say the best Contra game. I don't know. I actually think I like Contra Hardcore better than Contra 3.
Yeah, and Contra 3, isn't that's the remake one of the Game Boy Advance one, which I have, which is Alien Corpse, I think. I think that one. It's great. I mean, it's a good Contra game.
Great Contra game. Second game is Donkey Kong Country.
Okay, the original, not the second. Okay.
The original Donkey Kong Country, which is still one of my favorite video game soundtracks ever. And we learned from Norm on the last episode. That's from David Wise.
Yeah.
At Rare. So that's pre-rendered goodness, Donkey Kong Country. And I remember just being completely blown away by Donkey Kong Country back in the day. Mm-hmm. Like, that was the game. I had a best friend when I was younger, Steven, and he was the Sega guy, and I was the Nintendo guy. And Donkey Kong Country was the game that I was like,
pulled him over.
No way, Sega can never do this. And I didn't realize it was just pre-rendered whatever.
Yeah, well, that was like Mortal Kombat, same thing. It's like,
exactly.
These guys look real. Yeah, it's like
they're just Photoshop little pictures, but yeah. So I've actually played back through Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2 pretty recently, and that is a really good game. It still holds up. I know people say it hasn't aged well. Some people say it hasn't aged well. Yeah. I still think it's aged very well. I love that game. The third one is a kind of a huge game because this game people were wanting released forever, and people talked about it forever, and then they finally released it on Virtual Console here recently, and
Earthbound.
And now, Earthbound is going to be on the Classic.
Yeah.
And this is going to get me roasted, I guess, but I am not a huge Earthbound fan. I know people really love it. I have started it like 4 times and never gotten very far into it.
It's a slow burn. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know people love it. I guess for me, I had to have been there, time and place kind of thing.
Sure. But great addition.
But it is. It's a great addition.
Game.
Yeah.
We're already over the price of the whole thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, Earthbound's $150 game right now.
Earthbound kind of speaks for itself. That's a great addition.
Yeah, okay. and it's not even a rare game, but yeah. So Earthbound. Next game is Final Fantasy 3.
Okay, good.
Also a great old school, RPG. I guess it's Final Fantasy. Trying to remember right. Final Fantasy 3 here is Final Fantasy 6, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Or
probably
5 or so. The numbers between Japan and here are not the same.
Yes, I do know that.
So yeah, double check me on that. But yeah, Final Fantasy 3, which is some people say the best RPG
some people say the best,
Super Nintendo. F-Zero.
Oh, I'm so excited!
Which is a great game.
I'm gonna time trial that little pink car like I used to do when I was a kid. I used to come home from school and pop that in on the little TV. Like, you don't even have. Well, I guess they're your phone.
13-inch. Yeah.
I don't even think. I think it was a 10-inch.
Oh wow.
It was a 10-inch TV and it looked great. I wish I had that thing because it was awesome. It was a Zenith. I didn't even think they made Zeniths that small. But now, of course, I was thinking, what is that? Like a tablet? Because I was thinking, like, we want to make HD TVs that size. Like, idiot. Of course you do. It's called a tablet. But anyway, I remember coming home and playing that thing and, like, just going through the time trial. And I got down to the 1/100th of a second just trying to shave off time. Because, honestly, playing the Grand Prix sometimes, like, the bots that go through there, if you've played it and you bump into the side walls, you blow up. But anyway, it's a Mode 7 amazing racing game that I have a lot of nostalgia for. So I'm excited about that. What else we got?
Kirby Superstar.
Kirby Superstar, which that also is a game I'm excited to, because
Tons of replay value.
I don't
It's got a
own
lot
that.
in that thing.
Yeah, it's got like 6 games in one. That's some people really feel like that's their favorite Kirby.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like Kirby games, and I know that they're super easy and they're kiddie and they're
Yeah,
kind of goofy and stuff. But like me and my 3-year-old, we play Kirby games together, and the Kirby games are just fun.
So you'll be excited about this one, because I don't know if you know, one of the games on here is a hard Kirby game.
Oh, cool.
Like, so if you actually want to be challenged by a Kirby game, the longest one, so it's kind of it says 6 games in one. It's really kind of like
It's kind of like
2.5 or 3, and then a couple
yeah.
kind of like more fun, like mini game type things. But it's a great collection. But one of them is very hard. Okay, what else we got?
Kirby Dream Course.
Great.
Which I have no history with that game at all. I don't know
Yeah,
anything about
I never played it before.
Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I've heard that it's a good game.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm being sarcastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good game. Some people say the best Zelda.
I know,
even now. Say
You
the best
hear a
Zelda.
lot about it now with Breath of the Wild out, because people kind of say this is 1, 2 as far, and then of course Ocarina, whatever. But yes, it is amazing Zelda
Link
game.
to the Past. It's really good. I haven't played through it in a long time, so I'd like to play
So
through that
great.
again.
So far we've got like great, pretty good, great. Okay,
Yep.
keep
And
going.
again, that's like a $50 game.
Yep.
Yeah, if you were to go buy it. Mega Man X, the first Mega Man X.
Nice.
Which is an awesome game.
Yeah.
It's
You have a lot of
actually
history with this one?
Yeah, I did. Well, I got this game like on clearance at Walmart or something back when I was a kid for like
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of sat for a long time on my shelf back when I was a kid, because I just never really found a reason to play it. And I think
I never let a game sit on my shelf as a kid. I do it now as an adult. but-
what happened is I bought it, and I actually think I bought it after the N64 came out or something like that. So it was really late. And so I'd play my N64, and when you're a kid, you don't want to go back and play the old stuff. So
Yeah.
eventually at some point, probably 2 or 3 years after I bought it, I put it in and just could not put it down.
Cool.
And it just keeps getting cooler,
Yeah.
And it's just as good as 2D platforming.
You're making Kirby
stuff.
people happy. You're making Final Fantasy people happy. Zelda people. Keep going.
Secret of Mana.
Great.
Great game. Probably, arguably, the best action RPG aside from maybe Zelda. I don't know. Some
Yeah.
people like it better than Zelda. On the Super Nintendo, it's a really good game. I have actually played through this in the last year or so. It's a good game. Squaresoft game.
Great.
And then Star Fox, which is probably my favorite on-rail shooter of all time.
Yeah.
And-
I've said it before on this show. Like, I played in the Super Weekend as a little kid. I love Star Fox.
And Star Fox 2, which we've already talked about.
Yes, we have, and in all its goodness. I'm excited for this because this is the complete version.
It is. This is a finished version, not the leaked version that's available.
Which the guy, so I forget his name, but there has been a recent article. I don't know if you've seen this. The creator, right? So the studio.
The guy from Argonaut Software?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he basically has come out and said, I didn't know this was coming. They didn't tell me because I'm not affiliated with Nintendo anymore. But he's super excited about it because he did know that there was a finished ROM out there. And he always kind of thought, like, it'd be great if they would release it. But obviously it's been this many years, like what, 20, 22, 23 years. I mean, when does something like this happen? Like, never really. Like, you talk about Duke Nukem.
Well, it's amazing how many games like this existed and were lost because the company went out of business or the ROM never got released.
Yeah, but I mean, something like high profile, and that was a good game and a tier 1 product, if that's a thing that I just made up. Like, just a top shelf game, first party ish. Anyway, okay, keep going. So obviously, Star Fox is going to sell this, make this thing. People on the fence kind of hop the fence to play.
The next one's a fighting game that you might have heard of.
Okay.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
I never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
No, yeah.
Yeah. So
I just borrowed some of your sarcasm, Adam. How do you like it? No, I'm just kidding.
it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out it's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Okay.
The next one is a little known game, Super Castlevania 4,
Yeah.
which is an awesome game.
That is an awesome game. Yep. And that's
Probably my favorite Castlevania game.
Is that one pricey?
It's like $50, $60.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not super
Like
pricey.
anything.
It's, not cheap.
It's funny. It's like that's a going rate now.
Super Ghosts and Ghouls, or Ghouls and Ghosts. I got
Okay.
that backwards.
All right. Heartland.
I haven't not played that much of that game.
I haven't
but
played a lot of it. It's not.
It is.
Yeah,
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's-
super
yeah.
hard. I
If
understand
you
why
hate yourself, you'll love it.
I understand why they put it on there. I will tell you, this is the game I would swap for something else at the end of this. But okay, keep going.
Another game, Super Mario Kart.
Yeah. great. I understand the addition. Not my favorite Mario Kart. I don't have a lot of history with it. Makes a lot of people happy, and it needs to be well-rounded because that's the only racing game in there. So
yeah, it is a good game. It is not the best Mario Kart.
Yep.
The best Mario Kart is Mario Kart 8. Actually, I think I could say that firmly now.
All right, man. I'm a 64 guy.
But I have more nostalgia for the 64 version than the others, but 8's the best one.
Yep.
Another one, Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars.
Yeah, this one stood out at me as like when I saw this, I was just like, oh gosh, like.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that this one's on there.
Yeah.
This one in Earthbound, I was just like, no way.
Yeah, they're doing good. They made good picks. It's gonna be hard,
And I can't even hear the words Super Mario RPG without getting the soundtrack stuck in my head. Now it's stuck in my head again. The next one is Super Mario World.
Yeah, I've heard of that
which
one.
is a decent game.
Yeah, decent game.
It's like at least a 5.
Yep. So they obviously this was a given. Like if you knew this was released,
Super Mario World had to be on it. But God, what a good game!
But how many times do you think this might be the first game people start to play just to get a representation of how good is the emulation? That is why I think this is going to be a good test because I think everybody kind of knows how this should play. A quick aside before we finish, I will say this: another elephant in the room. Those that didn't know, the last NES Classic, they kind of found when they hacked this thing that Nintendo used ROMs.
ROMs they got from the interweb.
That had stamps on it from others. So, like, I really hope the emulation is good on this. I assume it's going to be great. But again, Nintendo doesn't hardware manufacture these kind of things that often. I mean, this isn't up their alley, but I'm just curious if they're going to rectify that, and we'll see how well it plays by popping this in. I'm sure it's going to be great.
I'm always down to play Mario World. I love that game.
Yeah, great.
And then Super Metroid.
Jeez, great.
Which is a pretty good game.
Yeah, pretty good game. That's the Metroid I would suggest to people play to understand.
Yeah, if you want to start on Metroid, Super Metroid is the Metroid to start on.
Yeah.
It or Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. Yep. One of those two. If you're just starting Metroid, that's where you start.
So you like Zero Mission? I like Fusion for the Game Boy
really?
Advance.
They're both good.
I
kind of like Zero Mission probably a little better.
Yeah.
But they're both very good. And the next one is Super Punch Out.
Yep, great.
Which is a great game.
Great, it's very good.
I really like it. I have not played it in a long time.
Yeah, I mean the first good. Obviously the Nintendo gets the nod for the nostalgia. That's the one everybody references. But Super Punch Out is a quality game. You kind of had to have it in there because you got Street Fighter. Mm-hmm. But out of all the picks, this is probably still in the lower half. A little bit of a surprise. Like besides the givens of Zelda and things, like they probably had a list of 10 and had to pick 5 and punch out 1.
Yeah. And then the last one is actually the one aside from Star Fox 2 that I'm most excited about. I think.
Okay.
Yoshi's Island.
Okay, yeah.
Because Yoshi's Island has never, ever been re-released on anything.
Even their virtual console.
Even the virtual console since the original release.
All right, I have a rebuttal.
Except the Game Boy.
Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance.
True. It was released on the Game Boy Advance, but it's never been released in console form.
Sure, yeah. You can play the Game Boy Advance on a Super. I'm just saying, I'm anytime I have a chance, everything you're saying is right. Anytime I have a chance to talk up the Game Boy Advance, I'm gonna do it because that is a console that
is awesome.
We've talked about Super Nintendo a lot, and
if you like Super Nintendo, you would love Game Boy Advance.
Man, Game Boy Advance really, and it's an advanced version of the Super Nintendo because it has a lot of the great ports. And if you just get the GameCube player, you could play it on a console, and there's other ways to do that now. You can buy a cart that you can put in your Super Nintendo to play. So actually, you can, it's a $30 adapter that lets you play your Game Boy Advance through your Super Nintendo. So that is a way to save money on a lot of these games, like Yoshi's Island. If you're going to get the Super Nintendo version. You might as well spend $8-9. That's retail to get the Game Boy Advance version. But anyway, I am off my horse about that. That is the game list.
That's all of them.
That's a really good game list.
It is. It's a good game list.
That's really good. And I am not a fan of what Nintendo did, and a lot of people are sour, but they did good on this. The only thing in looking at the list, there's a couple of little things that are missing. And I wouldn't delete any of the games that are on here, but I would love to see NBA Jam. NBA Jam, okay.
Or similar. NBA Jam, maybe Tournament
NBA Jam
Edition.
for Super Nintendo is a good choice.
That would be a great game to have on here.
Yeah.
Tecmo Super Bowl would be a great game to have on here.
Tecmo Super Bowl. I completely agree with you on that. I love that for the Super Nintendo. I like Tecmo Super Bowl maybe better than the Tecmo Super Bowl for the NES. Did you play the Super Nintendo one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a long time ago. I haven't played in a long time, but
yeah. Also, the year of the stars and everything, and the graphics and everything. Yeah, Tecmo Super Bowl would have been great. I understand why they didn't include it.
Killer Instinct.
Yeah,
the Super Nintendo version of Killer Instinct would have been awesome to have on here. Donkey Kong Country 2 would have been really great to have on here.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a few other games. There's other early first party Nintendo games.
I really would love to have had Pilot Wings on here.
Pilot Wings would be good.
Pilot Wings, like, to me, it's unique enough. I'm really surprised that it wasn't on the list, given that Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Yeah, like, I would have traded that. I would have traded Punch Out. But there isn't, what sports? What other?
Yeah, that's what I mean. They just didn't, and I'm not a big sports game fan, and obviously I like arcadey sports games that aren't real sports games like NBA Jam.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I could throw down with NBA Jam anytime, any place, anybody. Like, it's just a great pick up and play. Let's have some fun, some dumb fun, kind of multiplayer sort of game. When I see the list here, it's very much it's a powerhouse single player system. With all these games on them.
Yeah.
But a lot of these games, I mean,
what's 2-player? We've got
Contra 3's 2-player.
Contra, Street Fighter.
Donkey Kong's 2-player. Street Fighter's 2-player.
Okay.
F-Zero, Mario Kart.
F-Zero, that's right. Okay.
That's it.
What's the last one we just picked, though, near the bottom? Did we even say that one? Super Punch-Out.
No, I don't think Super Punch-Out is it?
Super Punch-Out's not
I don't know. I haven't played it in so long. I don't remember.
No, yeah, actually, you're right. It's not. So
I think
actually,
it's single player.
That's 5, maybe 6 if we're missing one, but 5 out of the 22. And you have 2 controllers. So that is interesting.
It is.
Wait,
that's
Super Mario World, did you say that?
Yeah, Super Mario World. Sorry, that's 2-player.
Okay, so 6, maybe 7.
Yeah, but Earthbound's not. Final Fantasy 3 is not.
You're right.
Your Kirby games really aren't. Your Legend of Zelda is not. Your Mega Man X is not. Secret of Mana is not. Star Fox 1 and 2 are not.
No.
Castlevania is not.
Wait. Star Fox 2.
Oh, it is a 2-player, isn't it?
I think it's a 2-player game.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but I think it is.
That, yeah.
So maybe that's why, because I was thinking about this, like,
My RPG single player.
You say, hey, we need 2 controllers, but I've never had a system.
Metroid single player.
Metroid single player. Yeah, they're all single player, but like, if you think about it, they gave you 2 controllers. They were only 5 choices away to not even having the second player option, and you get the second controller.
That's my only gripe on the system.
Yeah.
It just seems very much like if I was going to play single player Super Nintendo, these are all of the single player games I would really want to have. But I would really like there just to be like 3 or 4 extra really good multiplayer games, things like Killer Instinct or Tecmo or
I'd say
something along those lines.
Yeah, but between the two, Sega Genesis, obviously a lot better at sports because you deal with the slowdown and everything. It could handle the sports better. You could play some sports. Like I said, Tecmo Super Bowl is great on that system. NBA Jam is great, but it's a much shorter list on that system. So really, I think,
it's a good list.
It's a good list. We just hope that pre-orders are up. I will tell you this, pro tip. Shane has given us a pro tip.
Pro tip.
Yep.
There's my Shane impression.
All right. Shane's going to love that. I will tell you guys that I can tell this because our audience isn't, 80,000 people, but still, a good size enough that hopefully you don't take my system away from me. You're going to have a hard time pre-ordering this. If you're interested in this, there's a lot of clickbait articles out there right now. It's super annoying, like how to pre-order, and you click through the article and it'll be like pre-order at Amazon when it's available, and pre-order. It's like obviously, but there is a. Am I even going to find it? There is a guy that goes by the name of Wario64 Twitter handle. And he is really good at, I got this from a Verge article. He is really good about notifying you of deals instantly, all video game deals. I have him set on like instant notification. So if you're on Twitter, follow him and then add him to your instant notification list, because I was able to pick up my copy on the Amazon UK immediately because he just knows when there's a deal going on, and within under a minute he's tweeting it out. So those extra 5 or 10 minutes about knowing if something's available, I mean, it's always going to just keep selling out. We'll hope that maybe we're wrong and they're going to make 4 times the amount. But I'm thinking if Nintendo said significantly more, they might double the production, and doubling the production is still not going to be enough. All right, real quick before we talk about E3, I was going to say what we were playing. I finally, I got my Wii U kiosk, and I got my Wii U. And I've gotten my games like Adam, except not by getting a whole ton of them, but I was able to pick up a lot. It was really easy to collect for the Wii U because there's not that many games for it.
Nope.
So out of all the games I want, there's 20 or 30, and you can kind of slowly pick those up or get them in lots and trade some away, resell them. There's still, there's that premium on Nintendo that those games only drop to a certain amount, especially some of them. But I will slowly get through them. And I had all these Wii U games that are considered the top, 20 of the system. And I picked a good one, and I feel like it's already going to be my favorite game. And I'm super surprised how good this game is, and it's Bayonetta 2.
Bayonetta 2.
You've
It's
played
good.
it?
It's really good.
Dude, okay, so Bayonetta is a really stylish action fighting game.
If you like God of War, those types of games. Yeah,
it's like God of War,
that,
but real nuanced action fighting. The big thing about this game is the style. Bayonetta is this heroine. It's got a real anime style to it. The
everything's way over the top.
Everything's way over the top. The art style, the opening, really. If if you're bored at work, if you look at the intro, the first 10 minutes of Bayonetta, it's kind of hypersexualized. Family friendly podcast, as we say, but we could say that. And do you notice we got our first bleep when we did last episode?
Oh yeah, that was Norm though. We're never having Norm on again because
Yeah.
he can't keep his dirty mouth shut.
Yeah, he can't. Oh man. Well, again, we do it for a choice, so you can listen to this in your car, or if you're working on something in the house and the kids are within earshot, you're not getting any heck because we're teaching your kids how to cuss. But Bayonetta, I mean, this is a game maybe you wouldn't want to play in front of your kids, but I actually liked it because it wasn't over the top, let's say Team Ninja, Volleyball Extreme, boob physics, all that kind of thing. I mean, there's some of that there, but it's more just kind of she's just a sensual character. And because of that, she kicks butt. She's got these huge heels that are also guns.
Yep, she has guns on her feet.
She's got guns on her feet. She's got guns in her hands. The dialogue, it's kind of like if God of War met Bordeaux.
It's a weird game, but it's I don't know how.
Yeah, right. It makes
it's hard to even put it. It's just cool.
Yeah, it's a cool game.
It's just a cool game.
And I was really happy to play a cool game on what's considered a pretty kiddie system. This was a Wii U exclusive that it's just recently been announced that it's going to lose exclusivity, but it's been an exclusive for 3-4 years. Mm-hmm. So you will be able to play this if you don't have a Wii U. But boy, this is kind of, for me, maybe, again, I haven't played all the Mario stuff and all the other things that they said was great, but what happened is the 2 games I've played so far on the Wii U is Bayonetta 2 and Wii Sports Club. Mm-hmm. And I am really disappointed with Wii Sports Club because, Wii Sports, everybody knows it. It's the best-selling game of all time just because it was a pack-in and because they sold 100 million Wiis, it beat out Super Mario Duck Hunt as the best-selling game. Wii Sports is great for what it is. But this game is actually just Wii Sports in HD. That's it. They didn't improve it.
It's actually one of the most expensive Wii U games as well.
Because
they didn't make very many of them.
Maybe because they knew it wasn't good. Mm-hmm. I guess.
Know.
So I thought I got it for free because when I uploaded and started up my Wii U and put in my profile, I saw that they made it a free download, and I was thinking oh, that's nice. Maybe that was their way of giving you a free game. Well, it turns out it was a timed free game, and it's only free for 24 hours from when you first play it. And I was like, that's lame, Nintendo. But I'm okay with that because I played it once, and I never want to play it again. Like the bowling alley, same bowling alley from Wii Sports. The golf is the same golf. There's a little bit of, the control is a little better. Like tennis was tennis. But because the control is better, you're going to play it like you did the old Wii style. So you're going to like have a lot of faults, and it's actually worse because you're not going to be as good at it because you're used to playing it like you did, 12 years ago. So anyway, I'm interested to keep going through the system, but Bayonetta 2 was great. Didn't have a good time with U Sports Club. Played a little bit of Farpoint. That's that VR game that comes with the gun peripheral I talked a little bit about, but didn't do a good job describing last time on the show that Norm was on. That game, I really want to finish it, and I want you to borrow it if you can't find it, because that game actually, this is kind of neat, first VR game that broke the sales charts in the top 20.
Oh, really?
I don't know how far in the top 20 is. Might be like 19 or 18.
I do want to get the bundle if I can ever find one.
Yes, yeah. People are selling it for like $180, and it was already kind of pricey at $80.
Yeah.
I luckily got the gamers.
They're all sold out everywhere, and everybody wants too much on resale.
Yeah, I did Best Buy offered the Gamers Club Unlocked, so I got it for $63. I even thought about like selling it just to get that profit to buy another game, but like the game is actually really good. But played a little bit more of that, and obviously our book club picks. That's been about it for me. Did you play anything?
I've played a few things. So my kid is just all about Mario Kart 8, and I've said in the last couple of podcasts that we've
awesome,
played on Mario Kart 8. But yeah, every night when I come home, Mario Kart 8, Dad, let's play Mario Kart. Dad, let's play Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Dad, when are we playing Mario Kart? Dad, can we eat so we can play Mario Kart? When can we play Mario Kart? So I play a little Mario Kart just about every day, at least a little bit. It's kind of amazing. I mean, he's not quite 4 yet. He's 3 3/4 in age or so. But he picks the Switch up, gets into Mario Kart, and plays it. He doesn't. I am no longer necessary.
That's great.
He's Mario Kart. I wouldn't say proficient. I'm still a little bit better than him, but he can play it and do everything he wants to in it without my help.
That's crazy, because I remember, we had 2D when I was 6.
Yeah.
Like, we're playing Atari, we're playing NES. Those are, I think, a lot simpler than figuring out Mario Kart.
Oh yeah. It's amazing to watch. But I undocked what we've been doing is I undock the Switch, and he plays the Switch next to me or whatever, and then I play PS4.
Awesome.
And then I'll pause the PS4 and we'll race a game or two together, and then I'll hand it back to him because he wants to do it on his own. And so we hang out, and he plays the Switch, I play PS4, and he'll pause his and watch what I'm doing. Like, so for instance, I was Sony had a flash sale. They've been having these awesome PSN flash sales. Yeah. And I don't buy very many digital games. I really try not to buy digital games. But they had God of War 3 remastered for $4 on there the other day. Yeah. Actually, it's still on there for $4, I think. And
you never played that one?
I've played all of them except the God of War 3 and God of War Ascension. But I played all the others. And it's so cool,
Yeah, God of War 3 is great if you've never played it before.
Yeah, so, So I started playing that. There's a big battle with Poseidon and stuff. And there are parts of that game you can't watch because they're too violent, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
But
good for you.
Yeah, so I'll be like, hey, you can't watch this part, or whatever. Go over there. But like,
does he actually do that? Does that work?
Yeah, it kind of does. At least at this point, it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, the battle with Poseidon is just awesome. And so he paused his and watched a lot of that part of it just because it looked so cool, and he was kind of fascinated by that whole thing. But I've been playing God of War 3. I'm at the end of the Telltale Batman game.
Oh, okay, still playing that
for PS4. I kind of picked it back up the other day and started playing through it, and then I've actually been playing Rocket League a little bit again because and this is going to get to the E3 stuff, but Rocket League is going to come out for the Switch.
Yeah,
and I am way jonesed up for Rocket League on the Switch, so I'm like, well, I need to not suck at it, so I'm going to practice.
I was going to say, like, you have it on the PS4. Is this just so you could play with your kid?
Yeah, A, so I can play with a kid, and B, I think it's just going to be more fun on a handheld, being able to take it places. It's a very pick up and play kind of game. It doesn't. I really like the PS4, but the PS4 I feel like is my cinematic. I'm going to sit down and really sink my teeth into this game, where my Switch is more like,
Sure.
I'm going to turn this thing on, play it for, 20 minutes and then turn it off and then have it just where I can pop right back into it or whatever. But I feel like it's more my my small bites gaming, where my PS4 is more my dedicated, I'm going to really focus on this kind of system. So there's that. I've been playing Puyo Puyo Tetris a little bit on Switch, and that's mostly it. Actually. And I actually picked up Uncharted 4 again the other day, and I played a few more chapters on it. So I'm at the last chapter. So I'll shut up about Uncharted 4.
That's so
4
funny because you've been playing this.
I've been playing it for months now.
No, more than you've been playing this over the course of at least
the last year.
half a year.
I don't play it for a few weeks, then I play like a chapter 2.
And I beat it over the course of like a week or something because I just couldn't put it down. It's a really good game, but it's neat that you can like actually
I like
stay
it.
up with it.
I feel like I have to like be in a. It's stupid. I have to be in the right frame of mind to play it.
I will say this. So it's kind of a dad thing now. So like you were playing this before I was a dad, and like you've been a dad. This is kind of the way you kind of have to play now. So I really love Horizon Zero Dawn. You need to get that game.
Oh no, I will. It's on my list.
I mean that game is amazing. How about this? I have not played it in like 2 months because my kid was born. I remember I blitzed as much as I could, and I talked about it on the show. It will probably be my game of the year, and I still have a lot to see of it. And I literally haven't played it for 2 months because I've had other stuff to do. I mean, I've got some changing roles in my job. I obviously have my now 4-month-old. As of yesterday, Sebastian is 4 months old, and he's huge.
Yeah, he is a big kid now.
Yeah.
I saw your pictures the other day that you put on Facebook.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
It's like, oh, he's turning into like a dude.
Yeah. Well, it's like he's doubled his birth weight.
Yep.
He eats a ton.
It's amazing how fast they grow.
Yeah, and and he's great. He still sleeps through the night, and it's hard to say that to people, but he still goes 12 hours, 13 hours sometimes straight, which will allow me to hopefully, as long as he keeps it up, as soon as he starts cutting his teeth, we'll see how fast that keeps going. We're talking about some. I don't want to segue too much, but we're thinking about like in the future. I don't know. Have you ever heard about Montessori?
Yeah, we actually sent.
Oh,
Grayson to Montessori.
Grayson goes just not okay. We should start with that. Some, maybe off the air, but it's still relative. I was thinking like, he's getting to the point where I started thinking like, oh, he's gonna start like grasping ideas and objects, and like I was thinking about the place he's at now, like how well they do as far as like doing, I don't know, education type stuff. And like, I've heard good things about Montessori. I kind of understand the concept. And I think it's kind of cool to see little 3-year-olds coming up and shaking your hand and ask you how and you do this time and you ask like what you want to do. And there's a lot of independence. Do you feel like it's all hubbub or is it a good thing? Like
yes.
Fluff?
It's some of both.
A little of both. Yeah.
Yeah. A little of both. I mean, there is something to be said for them socializing, learning certain things in a certain way. I think the thing, I try to be pretty practical as a parent. I think that the most important thing is that they're having the appropriate amount of attention.
Yes.
Not too much attention, because you can't give a kid too much attention, but they should have the appropriate amount of attention, and they should have expectations for their behavior.
Yes.
And they should have expectations to learn things.
Yeah.
And I think I don't really know that the structure of how you do that matters that much. As much as you're doing those things, if that makes sense. So that's one vehicle that I think works pretty well for a lot of folks. But it's not necessary. There's a lot of ways to skin that cat.
Yeah,
if you were skinning cats.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like some of it also is like how much of it is snake water. There's this other one that's like this Italian way of like teaching kids stuff. But I saw like I forget what it's called. It's like the Piccolo Puccini or something like that. But I saw the stuff they do with kids, and all I was thinking about was like, man, I would love to do that stuff. Like the types of crafts they're doing. They have like water aerobics. Yeah,
I know, right? I see my kid doing stuff. I'm like, God, that's cool. I want to just like paint things and let's make some, fingerprint animals.
Yeah.
Like, why don't I got to go to work?
I know. I show my kid like how to draw a turkey with your hand, and he's like, I'm beyond this, father. It's like, you're 2 years old. But anyway, I was just thinking about that. Like, that's good that you take it to him. So that's a good like recommendation. But anyway, I was thinking kind of about that because I also want my kid to be able to play video games as good as yours. That's
we'll see. I mean, he's all about him right now, but it's kind of amazing because he with that and the Wii U, Yoshi, and we got a SpongeBob SquarePants Plankton's Revenge. He's been playing that a bunch.
I'm so jealous of that because like you are doing like what a great benefit of having a kid. You're like playing games with your kid.
Yeah, we play together, and sometimes we don't play together. Sometimes we just play in the same room, but we're kind of talking to each other and stuff. Like, for instance, my Wii kiosk is on one side of my basement.
Yeah.
And then on the other side is my Neo Geo and stuff. So, like this last week, I played a lot of Neo Geo. So I played some SNK versus Capcom.
Nice.
And I played some Garu Mark of the Wolves. And
that's something he wouldn't really want to play.
Yeah, and he has no interest in playing these things. I played some Blazing Star, which is a shooter.
Nice. Nice.
But I kind of played these kind of arcadey sort of Neo Geo games because, again, they're quick hit kind of things. And, you know, I can lose a fight or pause it or whatever. But he plays his games on the Wii U. And he's getting pretty decent at them, but, you know, there are certain parts of levels that he can't get past, so he'll yell, "Hey, Dad, I need help." And then I'll kind of pause my game, walk over, get him past whatever obstacle, and then, you know, he'll be like, you know, we'll high five, and then I'll go back over and play my thing. So we're kind of like
interacting. Do you make him at least die 3 times? He can't be too quick to ask for your
he's
help.
not. I make him struggle with it a little bit.
Yeah, you got to.
Before, so I'll kind of watch him playing his game while I'm playing mine.
Sink or swim.
And pause and go back and forth and that kind of thing. And it's interesting because he's very, very, very independent. He doesn't like to be helped. He's very... There are a lot of things about my kid, but one of the things I don't worry about with him is like he's very, very driven, even much more than I am. Like he's got goals and he's a kid of action.
Nice.
And so
early retirement for you.
Well, maybe, but I mean that can be a good or a bad thing depending on circumstances. So I try to direct him into things that are worthwhile. I like playing video games.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like he's independent. And you're finding out like he could be a world's great
it's funny now
violist
because when we're playing like multiplayer games or like now I'll let him play and I'll kind of be watching him play and I'll see that he's having trouble and I'll be like, "Hey, do you want me to help you there?" And he'll be like, "No, I can do this." And and he'll sit there like he doesn't want to accept the help, if that makes sense. Like he wants to prove that he can, that he can do it. And eventually he'll say, "Oh yeah, can you help me?" That kind of thing. But I think it's actually really cool that he doesn't just give up and say, "Hey, do this thing for me because it's hard and I can't."
Yeah.
Like he really struggles with it before he throws in the towel. I think that's a good mark of
Is that good?
Person.
Does that I mean, we're also are talking about video games.
Yeah.
Like, does that also translate to like if you play sports or if he's running or
maybe
like
hopefully it does. I mean, hopefully it translates to other parts of life, but he does have that trait where
that's a good benefit and also like good justification. We always get these like calls sometimes from guys like saying, if let's say a significant other, they try to justify the whole video game scene. And obviously there's a lot of like, the game or the, there's the immaturity, there's the kind of bro mentality. There's all these kind of stereotypical things that are a part of gaming, but we should always talk about the things that are positive about it. It's a great cathartic thing you could do if you're having a down day.
Yeah.
Just in general, let's say the kid or us, like, dude, I deal with a lot of heavy hitting issues sometimes at work, and I'm just like, nothing can pull me in better, besides Arnold Schwarzenegger on Total Recall. You guys need to listen to this. This is so freaking good. We'll listen to it after the podcast. I'll show you a clip. But, games can pull you into that thing, the thing that the senators scare you about, a different reality. But boy, you know what? It's a lot better than popping a pill, drinking too many beers. Beer's always good, but you know what I mean? Like self-medicating on a video game.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've always thought of video games, at least for myself personally, I think for my kid too, as being kind of a positive thing because I see them as exercises in problem solving in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Or even patience for that matter, or goal oriented whatever kinds of things.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to my struggles with open world games is because they're not goal oriented enough a lot of the time. But yeah, I totally don't see them as being bad or wrong or
everything in
else.
moderation.
Yeah, it's everything in moderation. You got to be reasonable about it. We don't play video games every single day. We don't play them all the time.
Yeah. But let him play it because he's got more free time.
Well, sort of. But if he's, he's not plopped down in front of the TV just passively watching some cartoon that's just going to do whatever it's going to do.
Yeah,
either.
true.
Like this is something he's actively engaged in and actively thinking about and doing.
And they have
so I don't see how that's a bad thing.
No, and they have showed a lot that these educational TV things, not to knock educational TV, but do you remember like Baby Einstein and all that stuff?
Yeah.
They, and I think it's great. It's the first time he's seen anything. He is mesmerized by Baby Einstein sometimes. It is a way for him to kind of like look at the TV and it's interesting. But they found that, compared to say a video game, yes, that kind of passive thing, even if it's educational television until they get to the point of writing, like Reading Rainbow and stuff, obviously, in Sesame Street. But before that time, like, these Paw Patrol things and these other ones that supposedly try to tell you that they're, no, man, put him in front of Mega Man. And if he needs to be punished, you say, just beat one level of Mega Man. And then you could do whatever you want, but you're not getting up until you're beaten. Sorry, I went off on something. But actually, that would be a good punishment because, what that kid, boy, he's going to learn a lesson.
That's right.
Because he's not going to get up for 6 hours.
Yeah, he's going to learn NES hard,
Yeah. I said it. I still have my opportunity to do that. I said in episode 1 or 0 or whatever about starting off my kid on Atari and working his way
through it. Yeah. But I don't know. So I've thought that it's been a really good thing, and we still do traditional stuff like reading books and all that kind of thing. He always gets at least one book read every night, usually multiple, before going to sleep. So we do that, and we go to the library once a week or so and pick out a bunch of books.
Nice,
and
the
that
library.
Sort of
That's a place I'm looking for. I don't go to the library.
Yeah, the library is awesome actually with little kids.
Cool.
And it's great because kids are noisy and everybody looks at you. And but it's fun. They always have a nice little kids section with a whole bunch of little books.
Yeah, I could go to the library.
Yeah. So I going to the library is pretty neat. And they're actually building a new one just around the corner from my house. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's no way I would go to the library without it being super creepy. Because okay, let's just say this. Forget I have a kid. Why am I going to a library if I'm an adult?
Yeah. Well, you might be helping them back up their CDs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You could help them back up their stuff.
Okay. All right. I haven't been in a library in forever, so that's fun.
Yeah, last time I was at, this is a tangent, but last time I was at the library here in town.
Yeah,
I was at the big library, the big Johnson County Library.
Okay,
and so I'm sitting there, and I have my kid next to me. This is actually scary. This story, but well, kind of.
All right.
So I'm sitting there with my kid. And he is like right next to me, kind of behind me. And I was looking for a particular book, and I don't remember what it was right now, but I had it on my phone. I had it like saved on my phone, like this book that I wanted to read. And so I'm flipping through like pictures on my phone, trying to find this book or whatever. And this like crazy woman with like crazy hair comes up to me, and she's like 3 inches from the side of my face, like right here.
Okay.
Like right here. So I turn my face, and she's like right there. And she's got this mean just scowl on her face, like and her fists are balled up.
Whoa, okay.
Like she's going to hit me. And I was like, you need to step away from me, please. And she says, I see you pointing your phone at me. Why don't you just tell the government and everyone else that I'm here?
Whoa.
And I said, the thing that was scary about it is my kid was next to me. My kid was as close to her as I was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of a personal bubble person anyways, but she was way up in my personal space.
Sounds like it, and especially out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just out of nowhere. I didn't even see her come up. So I put my hand on my kid's shoulder, and I kind of move him back. And then I kind of stepped back like a little bit, like a foot maybe.
Okay.
And I looked at her and I said, "What kind of medication are you supposed to be taking?"
Okay. Oh, so you're instigating a little bit. Okay.
Not necessarily instigating, but I just seriously, like, what kind of medication are you supposed to be taking? And she said, "How you know about my pills?" And I said, you need to get back on your medication. You need to get away from me and my child.
Yeah. And lithium probably.
Yeah. And so she took a step back and actually went and sat back down at like a little, like a table with a computer on it. And then she just sat there with this like that mean, evil looking scowl on her face. And I mean, clearly she was schizophrenic or or has some issue.
Yeah, BPD or something.
Because clearly she's paranoid and has some other stuff going on. And so I went to the circulation desk where the librarian was sitting, and I said, not trying to tell you what to do or anything, but like seriously, somebody's going to get assaulted in this library today. So you need to figure out what to do with this lady. Because I really thought she was going to attack me and my kid. And So I went to this library, found my book or whatever, and watched the cops escort this lady out of there.
Oh, man.
After the fact, but how bizarre. But the crazy thing is, like, libraries, I mean, it makes kind of sense, right? Because they're warm. Anybody can go into one.
Yeah.
That, people with issues,
they're
homeless or whatever, tend to congregate there.
Yeah.
And my mom's a librarian, so she kind of has,
she knows about it. She had battle scars.
She kind of deals with some of these these issues as well. Yeah, but man, I really thought I was going to get assaulted in a public library.
Interesting.
The last time
yeah,
I was there.
you sound like it. Like,
and this is a big, nice public library.
Yeah.
So
I've noticed that.
Luckily, that's the only time anything like that's ever happened.
Like out here, you're kind of more in the burbs, but like, and I've noticed when I would go to the main Kansas City library, you would always see, like, obviously those people, maybe are homeless, but they weren't messing with anything.
Yeah,
they were always on the internet. They were always using the internet.
Well, that's the thing.
kiosks.
People come in and they just kind of spend all day on the internet doing whatever, and that's kind of an issue too, because sometimes people go to websites and things that they ought not be on.
Yeah.
But
at least not in public.
do
what you want, whatever tickles your pickle at home. But like, don't be showing that
my
stuff.
mom always has the issue of like people being near the kids section and then they're looking at and they'll be like,
she's seen a lot. So your mom has dodged bullets. And she's seen a lot of adult websites that have really weird
she's
names.
had to ask a lot of people to, like, if you're going to look at that, you need to not be on the computer facing the kids section.
Interesting. I wonder what some of the rebuttals are. Something like, oh, I'm just, doing research.
This is America. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do what I want. Free speech.
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm just looking up some anatomy.
But yeah, so I mean, that kind of stuff on public libraries is an issue. But so I actually did go to the library for a while after that, because I was kind of, I don't know if rattled's the right word, but I was a little bit worried.
You're scared of this old lady.
I was a little bit worried. About going to the library.
She probably just got back on her pills, whatever she needed.
Maybe, boy, but I thought she was going to shank me with a whittled off toothbrush or something.
You probably could have taken her.
I don't know.
No, she was big.
She was not a small person. And,
I will say, psychosis,
she had the drop on me for sure.
Dude, if she put like meth in anybody behind it could be like
she certainly had the
monkey.
drop on me, and I really did think I was going to get stabbed or something. Like no kidding.
Gosh, all right. Scary story. So I was excited about going to the library, and then now you're making me fear for my life.
I'm just saying, libraries are dangerous. That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the word out. Don't go to the library; they're dangerous places.
All right. So, or if you bring your library card, make sure to shave the corners into sharp corners and keep them in between your fingers.
My mom's gonna love this segment of the show.
Hi,
Mom.
Yeah. You talked about a library for the longest time, and it was only like to make people never.
That's right.
Libraries already are getting like budget cuts and all this other stuff.
They're just full of books and
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I just have good memories because it reminds me of being a kid, right?
Yeah,
just
Like you just go to story time and do all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where like you'd always meet for like after school stuff. It's fun stuff. Probably won't talk about it at super length, but we got to talk about this. E3 had a lot of interesting news.
It did. There was a ton of cool stuff.
Yeah, so press conferences, we'll kind of just go through the heavy hitter stuff, things we're kind of excited about, little thing. They announced a new console. That's kind of interesting. I don't know. Where should we start?
I don't know. We can...
Let's talk real quick about that, the Xbox One
Sure.
X. So Microsoft had their...
the Xbox One X. I have a theory on this.
Okay.
So I think the Xbox One X was named by the same people who named the Wii U.
Yeah, both Nintendo and Microsoft have
They're
done
just
it before.
horrible at naming stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is the dealio,
And it's funny because
guys?
you can't say, oh, Sony's so great for going in order, for counting.
Well, at least you know that it's not the 2, it's the 3.
Yeah.
It's not the 3, it's the 4.
They did now do the Core and the Pro, so that's
they
something
are
different.
kind of
And the
messing it up a
PSP,
little
the
bit.
PSP Go, so they've done weird stuff too. That's like not the best naming, but so the Xbox One X is the more premium version of their previously revised Xbox One S. And I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Your
I have a lot of.
thoughts.
So my initial thoughts is it's too expensive.
Yeah,
I think what is it, $4.99 or $5.99? I can't remember.
it's
$4.99.
$4.99. It's
Yeah.
$500.
So it's $500. So my initial impression is, oh, that's kind of cool. But so there are going to be people that get it, and all those people are. Well, I'm going to back up for a second, and I don't want anybody to get too mad at me for what I'm going to say here, but there is a contingency. Like, I'm in a lot of Facebook groups and all this sort of thing, but the PC master race people, who think the PC gaming is, it doesn't even run at 187 frames a second. You guys are a bunch of pansies. Those types, they're going to run out and get the Xbox One X. And so there is going to be a contingency of people that goes and does it, and then nobody else is going to buy it. That's what I think is going to happen until there's a drastic price cut, because most gamers don't care that much. They care about playing something that's fun, not necessarily something that is 4K and runs at 100 frames a second and does all these fancy graphical effects and all. And I'm just speaking for myself personally.
Yeah.
If I'm not a gamer, I don't really know who is. And I'm not saying that I have more street cred necessarily, but I've been doing it for a long time, and I would just as soon play a lot of NES games as I would a lot of new games.
Yeah.
So it's not all about the ones and zeros.
Yeah.
I mean, they help, but realistically, like, I think PS3 games for the most part play just as good as PS4 games and Xbox One games and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So it is kind of who's got the bigger package.
Sort of, yeah. But it's the law of diminishing returns, right? I mean, a lot of the limitation now is related to software as much as it is hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for instance, I was on a group the other day and they were talking bad about the new Spider-Man game because it only runs at 30 frames a second. I'm sorry, that game looks awesome. I don't care if it runs at 30 frames a second.
Yeah.
It looks great.
Yeah.
But I imagine we'll get to it in a minute. But it's just, my personal feeling on it is yeah, it's cool. It's neat that piece of hardware exists. I just don't see that there being. I think anybody that's going to spend that amount of money would probably be buying a PC.
Yeah,
that's what I see. They
released the specs, and the big thing was the look of it and the price point. And it looks okay. It looks fine. It seems to be spec wise a little superior to Sony's recent PS4 Pro. It is just. This is for people who want to play on their 4K TVs, which 4K it is
a thing.
It is a thing, and then it's significant. The features that they have, like the interlace, like I'm not going to go into technical specs, but this is a very nice piece of hardware.
It is,
but it is still $500. It is double or more than double because they're going to have it at $199 for some point.
Just
Xbox
look
One
at the
S.
PS3 launch if you think that.
I think Xbox is going to be hurting for this. But okay, besides this Scorpio release, and they released the announcement date and the price. The big issue I thought with, if we're talking about Microsoft, is they just didn't have. I was dumbfounded that they really didn't show us any reason to get it as far as the games.
No, it was just, this is a cool piece of hardware.
And that's it.
I know people think I'm a total Xbox hater, but
no. Everybody's.
But like I said, I just felt like it was just like, wow, here's this cool piece of hardware and nothing else.
Crackdown 3 was not super impressive. Yeah. We're talking just exclusives. There was that game Anthem, but really, I mean, Crackdown 3, okay. Crackdown 1 was a really good game, but I feel like that was a time and place game, like kind of like early console of the previous generation. We've made strides since then. I don't know how impressive that's going to be. They had a really cool pirate kind of pirate MMO RPG third person cartoony. What was that called? Sea of Thieves.
Yeah,
Sea of Thieves
that's right.
Actually looks really impressive. I thought that was kind of neat. But when you look beyond that, there's not a whole lot else out there. Oh, Cuphead.
Yeah.
Okay, Cuphead.
Shane's actually pretty jonesed up about Cuphead.
Yeah, Cuphead looks great. The old kind of art style cartoon. Again, but we still don't know when that thing's going to get released, I don't think. And I love the original Xbox, like whatever you want to call it, the classic Xbox, OG Xbox, the big initial brick. That came out with
Xbox,
with the PS coming out against the PS2 of that generation. I really like the original Xbox. I have a large collection of games. They announced backwards compatibility for the original Xbox. Now, I've heard on a couple podcasts, I think there's some confusion to what that means. It does not mean you can just pick your disc and
you can't
throw
just
it
grab
in.
any old Xbox game, put it in.
And I've heard, I don't know why, if it's maybe they just didn't read it or something, and I don't know the the exact specifics, but yes, like they said, Crimson Skies is going to be in the initial games that you can play. Like, you're not going to be able to play your library of games through here. They're just going to have a select few available. And I will say, Crimson Skies, I love that game.
Yeah, it is a cool game.
I played it back in the day. That was one of the first online things. But yeah, it's really hard to justify this because, back when the PS2 came out and the Xbox, you could say that there's always been Sony and Microsoft, and then Nintendo's doing their own thing. Well, back then, if you wanted online play, you got Xbox Live because on PS2 it really wasn't an option. So there was a reason to get both. It's really hard to think of any reason why you would get both outside of you just want it and you've got that extra money.
Honestly, I think the best way to be a gamer now, like in this year, is have either a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox and a Switch. Like
one or the other.
One or the other and a Switch.
Yeah, not both. Unless you really want to pay like the equivalent of $500 for Gears of War. And then
the question comes down to, to some people it's going to come down to hardware, which does the more ones or zeros, but for most people it comes down to which has the better games. So which has the better exclusives that you would want to play.
Yeah.
And so
the indie games, Horizon Zero Dawn. To me that
and like I said, I don't want to sound too biased because I'm a PS4 owner, obviously, but based on what I see, I just don't think it's even close.
Yeah.
As far as the exclusives go.
And I would get it because if I get a 4K TV, I'd be up for anything. But right now, I would just go to the games, and I just kind of lackluster game announcement from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Press conference that I thought was really neat. Ubisoft or Ubisoft.
A lot of people hate on Ubisoft. I like Ubisoft, actually. Just historically, I like them.
Yeah, I really like Far Cry. They showed more of Far Cry, 5 at this point? The one that's set in the U.S. I like the Far Cry games a lot because as a first-person shooter, it's open world, and you can play these games in your own style where you can kind of shoot people from afar, which is what I like to do. And there's settlement camps. I really love.
Did you ever play Blood Dragon?
I was going to say that. I love
Blood Dragon. Is so much fun, man. I love that game.
So good. Blood Dragon was a download only. It used the Far Cry engine. It was done at night, and you have these
it's like all neon, like 80s.
Complete 80s, over the top. But what I like is they got rid of the fall damage. They made the game just super overpowered gun. It's
just fun. It's just dumb.
It's just a fun game.
Yeah, it's just dumb fun.
Super fun. If you've never played any of the Far Cry games,
there is a physical release actually of it. The Far Cry triple pack or whatever that it had. But so there is a physical release.
But didn't that physical release of that?
Oh, is it a download?
Was a code?
Oh, is it? Well,
yeah.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause I was excited about that too. I wish they would have just released it on a disc.
It's actually really fun though.
Yeah, super fun.
Never played it, and sometimes it's on PSN for $1.
Yeah, an easy way to get into it if you want to.
And is it on Xbox?
Yeah, it is. It's on all that system. So
I'm sure it's basically the same between the two.
If you've never played one, and you played Far Cry Blood Dragon, you should. I highly recommend it if you've never played any of the Far Cry games. I think they're really well made. They get knocked for not changing that much, but
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's really funny how a lot of people have been knocking this E3 as far as lack of innovation and why do they release the same game? Ubisoft had Assassin's Creed. After Assassin's Creed, they took a year off, made a new Assassin's Creed, and I'm I just want to say
they're going to make what people buy.
Well, and these game companies need to have a return on their investment when it comes down to they built this engine, right? The original Assassin's Creed engine. Mm-hmm. They're going to be in the red for a while before they get in the black as far as making their money from
sure
from this stuff. And obviously they haven't changed these games a ton, but out of these 7 or 8 Assassin's Creed games, I can tell you which 3 to immediately play. Play Brotherhood, play 2. 3 was play Brotherhood, play 2. If you're only going to play one ever, you could play Black Flag and have some of the best time playing that pirate version of that game. And you're not really missing anything. I haven't played Syndicate. This new one announced is Assassin's Creed Origins. Does this do anything for you? Set in Egypt?
I I've never really played any of the Assassin's Creed, so I'm completely foreign to the whole thing. The only thing I thought was interesting about it, and I don't really know how I feel about it, is that there's like 6 different versions or something. There's like a regular version, then there's like
the gold version.
There's like a deluxe, and there's like a gold, and then
they
there's
do
like
that for all theirs actually.
Yeah, and then there's like a super triple collector's edition, double special, super double rainbow awesome. Mega Mint collection.
Yeah, it comes with MSG, comes with a
it comes with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, I know that is something that gets a little old, but I get it because they got to make their money.
Yeah, but so there's all of that. I mean, it looks fine. I probably still won't play it just because it's just one more thing. You got to pick and choose your franchises, and I just haven't picked that one yet.
I'm the same way.
And at this point, I feel so far behind. I probably never will.
I know. That's why I'm telling you though. If you played Blood Dragon, I really like.
No, I'm sure I would like it. I seeing video of it and stuff, it'd be right up my alley.
No, a lot of people don't, and I get it because I actually did start with 2, and I started way years later, and I like the Assassin's Creed games, but I hear that a lot. Like people like, I don't even do it because there's so many out there. When I really think if you've never played an Assassin's Creed,
I do have Black Flag on. Actually, I'm going to play Black Flag at some point on the Wii U. It's on my list of things to play.
That's the one I would pick out of all of them because yes, there's arguments to why like Brotherhood or 2, but Black Flag is a ton of fun, and you don't have to play any of the previous ones to get in it. So anyway, this new one set in Egypt doesn't look a lot different. They took a year off. We'll see what actually comes of it. The other thing that was announced at the Ubisoft is that Mario game.
Yeah, Mario and Rabbids Land.
Yeah, Mario Rabbids crossover, Rabbids Kingdom
It
Battle.
actually looks pretty cool, and I'm sure I'll buy it.
Yeah, so this was a surprise how they released it, as it's basically a turn-based strategy action game a la XCOM.
Yep.
And XCOM was a game that came out on the previous systems that was actually pretty well reviewed. I think Giant Bomb made it their Game of the Year or their runner-up for Game of the Year. And it's Enemy Unknown, Enemy Within, remakes of some old PC games, also called XCOM, I think. And I think this game could be, if it ends up being as good as it kind of looks, this is going to be on a lot of like easily top 10 lists for. I think this game's going to do really well.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's got mass appeal. And apparently those Rabbids are a big deal in Europe.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I that's what another podcast told me. Is that they really like the Rabbids over there. And I really like the Rabbids too.
And we like the Minions for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're kind of the same thing though.
Yeah, they're just annoying little goofy things that make kids laugh, and you laugh the first time you see it and every time since then.
No, I laugh every time.
Nails on a chalkboard.
Nails on a chalkboard.
That's all that is.
Hilarious.
But I think this game is going to be good because this is going to introduce people to this genre of game that is fun for people that aren't used to doing anything strategy, like Advance Wars. There's a lot of strategy games, newsflash, don't usually do well here. They do well in Japan.
It's because of the entry bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it.
But this is going to be accessible, and it's fun, and it's quirky, and it's different, and it's the first time you're going to play a game like this. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, like, I've never played a game like this, so innovative, when it's really just kind of a light version of a lot of games that are out there. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited for people to get into a new genre. So that's neat. What else did... okay.
Yeah, the big one.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
So... I never thought this game was going to come out. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was released, and it's basically the last game of when is this going to be released? Because they did,
they've been talking about it
forever. Well, they talked about it and then dropped it. So,
yeah, it disappeared for a decade.
So Beyond Good and Evil, I played the original one. I feel I can talk about this a little bit with some gusto because I consider this in maybe overall my favorite game I've ever played. And is it the best game? No. Do I play other games?
It's a good game.
Beyond Good and Evil came out in 2003. It was the first time I really was I just was compelled by the game.
Did you play it on the Cube originally? Or
I played it originally on the PS2, and then I got on the Xbox because the Xbox has the better kind of graphics. Mm-hmm. It is an interesting story because it's female protagonist Jade. You are playing, people call it Zelda-like. Because maybe, yeah, it's funny. A lot of people say it's very Zelda-like, but a lot of times it's just because they quote an article and for someone that's played both of them, it's driven by its story. The music was great. I remember my roommate in college like ripped this because this is like before you had this internet that was able to do things in seconds. Like we were trying to get the soundtrack, so they ripped it off the PC and put it on there. So if you ever look for the Beyond Good and Evil soundtrack, chances are if you find like a ripped version of it, it was my college roommate who initially like put it out on the web. I remember I watched YouTube videos of people like playing the music score. It's just, I don't know how else to say it. For whatever reason, I really like this game, and it has it's a cult following.
A lot of people
But basically,
really like the
game. It's kind of a the story behind it is it's a mystery game. There's photography elements. There's humanoid animals that you kind of don't. It deals with pretty adult themes. It's got sci-fi. It's got racing in it. It's just an overall like a game that obviously 15 years later we should have had 3 or 4 of these games by now, and it did well. And everything's gotten its turn, and now finally Beyond Good and Evil 2 has its turn, and it was super caught me off guard. So they released this as a trailer. And I'll tell you, initially when I heard about this and I saw the trailer, it is. Yeah. I got super excited, and then all of a sudden I started having these like flashbacks, like posts like I was bullied or abused. Like, wait a second, this has happened before. 2008, they released a trailer that was awesome, that was cinematic, and they're doing it again almost 10 years, 8 years later, 9 years later. They're releasing another trailer. The reason why I've kind of the air is out of my sails. Is that the way you say it?
Sure. You've been deflated.
Yeah, I've been a little bit, my bubble has been bursted a little bit.
Pop.
Is because the trailer looked really good, and I didn't quite get what was going on, but it obviously is a continuation.
Yeah, it did look good, but it did, I don't know that any of it was real gameplay.
No, and it's not.
Yeah.
And what was disappointing was after they released that and they showed the marker that said Beyond Good and Evil 2 and the crowd cheered, this seems like it's super early in development. The lady who came out that represented the game kind of talked about how she still wants community feedback for how the game goes. This is going to be a prequel, I think, from what I understand.
Okay.
Which I get because,
there was a lot going on at the beginning of
Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil, yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
and
sense.
I wish it got an HD. It got an HD treatment on the newer consoles that you can download,
Yeah,
but
PS3,
they never.
it's actually good.
Yeah, they never fully redid it like they're doing for Shadow of the Colossus. But anyway, this is one of 2 games. This one and the new Wolfenstein that I'm super stoked to have out. But it seems like we're years away. We don't have much details. And what if they do the same thing they did before and break my heart and not release this thing? But I hope it's a good game, but I was super excited about that. What else we got?
All right. Well, there was the Bethesda, since you were talking about Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Which Wolfenstein was kind of one of their big bombs.
Yeah, the Bethesda press conference.
I've got to catch me up on some Wolfenstein. I got the PS4 one upstairs. I got to play that stuff.
So you haven't played New Order?
Nope. I have it wrapped in the shrink wrap. I got it for $10, and it's sitting there waiting to be played.
Oh,
it's on the list.
Yeah, I know.
There.
You say that, and I keep saying I've seen like a recurring theme. I keep saying this is the best game. This is so great. I said that over the Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah,
whatever.
It's one of Norm's favorite games, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norma Caruso did, I think, a video series on it.
Yeah.
I can tell you, single player game, I haven't played one that good in the last like 5 years. I really liked Wolfenstein. I can't wait to replay it. It is a first person shooter.
Yep.
But it's a first person shooter that is just meant to be a great single player campaign. The story is really good. The setting is interesting because the setting is done in a kind of like, you're dealing with Nazis for the most part, but you're dealing with like kind of an alternate universe. Mm-hmm. There's always this kind of sci-fi element to it. You've still got B.J. Blazkowicz. Did you know there's like sci-fi to it?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know much about the overall plot stuff. I haven't played a Wolfenstein game since
The original.
Well, no, there's the original on the PC, but then they had a remake.
They had a PS2 one too.
Yeah, that's the era I'm talking about. Like that's the last one I played.
Okay, Return to Castle Wolf.
Yeah, that's
Castle
it.
Wolfenstein.
Castle Wolfenstein.
Yeah. New Order is great. I'm super excited. So the sequel or the new one was called what? The New Colossus or something
like that. Yeah.
That one, man, that trailer was freaking awesome. Like it just looks like it's a.
It'll be good, man. They make good games. I don't know if you've seen this, and I'm sure that they talked about this in the conference or whatever. I don't really remember, but there is Doom coming to VR.
Yeah,
and I've pre-ordered that.
Awesome.
I'm totally going to play.
Okay,
Doom in
cool.
VR. I got to have it.
Yeah. Did you play Doom, the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
Yeah, very good.
It's really good. I mean, it's fast paced. It's almost too much for me.
Yeah,
because like I'm tired at the end of the day, and it's too intense.
You know, I totally
if that makes
that.
sense. But yeah. So I've got Doom or I've got the Doomage in the VR.
Yeah,
coming, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean,
then there's the Skyrim on Switch.
Okay,
that'll be kind of cool. You can wear Zelda clothes. Yay.
Yeah, I mean,
so you can play a 6-year-old game or whatever.
Yeah, they also have a VR segment for that too. You know, I guess like anything, it's a remake of a game that came out earlier. So there's all these haters talking about like, you know, it's like, when are they going to come up with new things? I mean, like, you know, it's a port, and if you've never played the game, it's a good game. You don't have to play it. It's a long game. It's a game that if you've only buy Nintendo systems, you would be happy to have this on your system. But yeah, to get as much screen time as that got, I thought was kind of silly.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Oh, I don't know. That's about all I wanted to talk about with Bethesda or Bethesda. However you say their name.
In Bethesda. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, you could probably say it whichever.
Yeah, I think I mispronounce it half the time. I say it in my head or whatever. But we can talk about Sony, I suppose, after this. And I thought Sony's conference was okay.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah, they showed a little more, you know, they showed some gameplay of God of War.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, he's got a beard.
Yeah.
It's like God of War. It's like Kratos with a beard.
Yeah, with a kid too.
With a kid and a beard. Yeah.
Dad of War or whatever.
Yeah, he's like Grandpa of War.
Yeah.
He's like the headmaster at Hogwarts now.
You know, it seems like a departure from the previous games, because the previous games were kind of like Assassin's Creed, where they were kind of doing the same thing over and over, and people want something different. And this looks like this is.
Yeah, it kind of does look a little bit different. There's the new Uncharted game, which it's not an Uncharted game. I'm blanking. The one with Chloe.
Yeah, it's like Lost
Legacy.
Lost Legacy. Yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like it's going to be an Uncharted game. You know, if you like Uncharted, great. If you don't like Uncharted,
you're not going to. Yeah. And I like Uncharted, so I'm happy to play
so that'll be a good game. There's Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which I don't know if you downloaded the demo for that yet or not.
No, I haven't. No.
Ooh, it's nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
okay.
It's really good.
Good. I've heard that.
It's easy to play too.
Oh, good.
If that makes sense. Like, it's easy to pull moves off. Like, I feel like it's kind of forgiving.
Good.
But and that may just be because it's the demo and they want me to feel good about myself for it.
Yeah, maybe.
The $60.
Yeah.
but yeah, that looks good. I'm trying to think.
They also did like Shadow Colossus.
Oh yeah, the new remake.
Yeah, and it's going to be a remake. Good, you said that, instead of like HD remaster. Yeah. So they're actually going ground up. It's going to be the same game, but I
just hope they fix the way he runs.
Oh yeah,
he just runs so weird. Like the main character in it, like he just moves weird.
Huh? Yeah,
that's always been what's kind of killed me about Shadow Colossus. Like, God, why does he move so weird?
I'm interested in what they do with the little worm-like things after you beat the Colossus. So the people that haven't played it, it's basically like very epic action third-person game where all you're doing is boss fights against bosses that are the size of a building.
Yeah, they're basically giant puzzles.
Yeah,
all the boss fights.
Yeah, and you are in the shadow of their colossi. But very good game. It'd be neat if they made a new one, but this is just going to be a remake. Speaking of which, the Crash trilogy, didn't you order that?
I've got it pre-ordered, yes.
Is it? It's being released like pretty soon.
It's supposed to be any minute. I keep expecting to find it in my mailbox, but it's not here yet.
So interestingly,
the Insane trilogy.
That pre-order is huge from what I understand.
I imagine Crash got a big...
No, I thought that, but I honestly thought, like, the people who played Crash aren't going to want to play it again. I didn't think it was going to do that well. Some of the pre-orders are sold out, which that's hard to do.
Yeah, I pre-ordered it like as soon as they announced it. Back whenever.
And I didn't because I'm like, I'll wait till I see it cheap. But I love those games. I used to play Crash 2. Here's why I'm really happy about this.
Crash has tood, man.
Yeah, he does.
He's got so much tood, it's just dripping off of him. There's tood everywhere.
I am excited about this because maybe this will pave a way for. I liked another mascot on the PS1. He was a little dragon.
Oh, Spyro?
Yeah. So Spyro.
I'm actually surprised that's never happened, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's never happened because.
Who developed Spyro? Was it Sony themselves?
Insomniac.
Insomniac did, that's right.
Insomniac Games.
And they're doing the new Spider-Man that they talked about.
Yeah, so we need to talk about that. But I just want to. I hope Spyro happens. But the problem with Spyro is it's hopped around where the licensing, like who owns Spyro now, is not. I mean
because it's been on Nintendo systems. It's been
and they also put it in the ground. It's just not the original developers. But if they were to do a remake of Spyro, I would just be so happy. I love those games. I like 100%ed them. Third one gets a little weird. Second one's good, but the first one I just love to death. The guy, drummer from the Police, did the soundtrack. Stephen Copeland or Eric Copeland or something. But Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Whoa. Surprisingly,
yeah, did not. Yeah, I think that they had already announced that they were dedeveloping some sort of Spider-Man game.
They did it the year before, and all they showed was 4K.
Dudeness, that game looks good.
Yeah,
like it looks. Like it kind of puts me in mind of one of the Batman Arkham City or Arkham Asylum or one of the Batman Dark Knight games.
In terms of it's
things.
Just
the way it's sort of stealthy. You swoop down, you attack enemies, you hang them from things. Just kind of the way you move and that sort of thing is very, very similar. But God, it looks so polished.
It looks polished.
I mean, it looks just really.
Did you see
really
the web
good.
swinging?
Yeah,
yeah. Something that always gets a knock on these games, which makes sense because, technology, how are you going to do this? Spider-Man, usually when he's web swinging, he's just web swinging off of the air. It's not like he's attaching to anything. They made a point to say that every time you are swinging through the city, your webbing is attaching to a building and you're being propelled based on how you do that. And they showed the trailer and they would pause it and say actually, yeah, this is going to connect. So Spider-Man 2 for the PS2 was a great game. Spider-Man for the PSX and Dreamcast were both really good. But since then, they've kind of, they've just gone in a big hodgepodge of games where it's, it's hard for anybody to say what the name of the games were. They just kind of hop around. They'd made the Amazing Spider-Man games, and those are kind of movie tie-ins. This game it's also a Sony exclusive.
Yep.
And one of many that were kind of announced, if Xbox got this on their new system, looking the way it does, if they were able to maximize the output, that could have been maybe a possible system seller because there's a lot of Spider-Man freaks out there, especially with the new movie. Yeah. Which I heard has gotten good reviews. Have you seen the early reviews?
I haven't seen any of the reviews.
Yeah, early reviews say it's great, really good. So I'm excited about that because I wasn't a big Tobey Maguire fan or whatever his name was, the other guy.
Yeah. I can't remember either.
Yeah,
the little spiky-haired
dude. Yeah, amazing
spazzy guy.
Not my cup of tea. I couldn't even make it through Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I never even watched either of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Yeah, I didn't even watch them.
I was surprised. It was just it's movies are just taste based, but I can't fathom how anybody thinks those are great.
Yeah. So there was those, and then there was the Nintendo conference. Yeah. And the Nintendo conference, I mean, I'm clearly a Nintendo guy. Yeah. But I was very, very happy with Nintendo this year. Yeah. Because I get E3 happens, then you get online, you're like, what happened? You start reading about it, watching the press conferences or whatever. Nintendo is always so disappointing. But this year, and they didn't even show that much, but what they did show was it was exactly what everybody had been asking for, and it all looked awesome. There's Mario Odyssey, which was kind of their big highlight of the show, and that's because it's a game that comes out this year, and they're trying to push sales for it. But man, it looks good.
Yeah. So, yeah. Super Mario Odyssey looks really good. Sorry, real quick, something I forgot to mention. Super Hot for the VR is coming out on Sony.
Oh, yeah.
Super excited about that. That is a kind of puzzle shooter game that if you've ever seen any, I've been waiting for that to officially be released. And also that Monster Hunter game looks good. Like finally a way for the average bear to maybe get into Monster Hunter as long as they make it accessible, because those games are
they're huge.
They're very Japanese based.
Yeah, they're huge and they're complicated.
Yeah. But yes, Super Mario Odyssey, this looks like a really good,
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a
game.
big, goofy, quirky, kind of a pushing forward of the Mario franchise, I think, so to speak. But I don't know, everything all the Mario games kind of have their gimmicks, or their hooks or whatever. But the gimmick in this game is that you have a hat and you throw it at things and then you control those things.
You possess them. Yes.
Yeah. So it just looks really neat. I mean, you can take control of enemies. You can, in a sense, it's kind of like a Kirby game, right? Like you get your enemies' power.
Yeah.
But
they've done this before in other games.
Yeah, but
it's hard to make something new and different in this world, and they're doing a lot of different stuff. I mean, this is.
You can be a dinosaur. You can be another person.
New Donk City. Yeah, you can be a real person.
Yeah.
They seem to be kind of. Taking the chains off with it, which is what they kind of need to do.
Yeah, I think so. And so Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 and even Mario 64, like some of my, like all three of those games are my top 10 games probably of all time.
I agree.
I love every one of them, but they're very goal oriented, right? Like you'll go into a level and the level you select the star or whichever goal you're going to try to attain, and then the level reconfigures to that goal.
Yeah.
Right. And this game is very different from that in that it's not a huge open world like a Grand Theft Auto 5, but they're huge open areas that are just full of a bunch of little tricks and gimmicks and challenges all in one space. And they're all littered with and you don't collect stars, you collect moons, but there's 30 to 50 of these things in each one of these areas.
Yep.
So it's very much like a Grand Theft Auto or something like that, in the sense that you just sort of run around and do whatever you want to do, and you get stars however you want to get them, and you approach them in whatever order that you want to approach them. There's not these defined tracks, these defined goals that you go into like you've always done in these open, quote unquote, open world Mario games.
Yep.
So I find that really, really interesting. And I also, just for the way that the Switch works, it's well designed for the hardware, because the Switch, like I always talk about, the greatest thing about it is that you turn it on and boom, 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 you're in the game.
Yeah.
And it literally takes 3 seconds to get back to where you were when you turned it off. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of game is perfect for that platform. Because you can kind of be in the middle of what you're doing, just turn it off, and then you're right back where you were without having to go back through an overworld or, go back through go jump back through the other painting or give up on the star that you were working on, originally. So I think it's really conducive to the hardware. And then, on top of that, we're getting 2 new Metroids. This is actually the thing I'm most excited about, because I'm a big Metroid fan. So there's a Metroid
Prime.
There's the Metroid Prime 4, which of course it's early development. Nobody knows anything about it, but just the fact that they're making a Metroid Prime 4, I'm thrilled about, because I've been wanting one forever. And then they're remaking Metroid, The Return of Samus, which is the Game Boy Metroid on the 3DS of all places. So that'll kind of be a swan song, I guess, or a final game for the one of the final big games maybe that comes out for the 3DS.
Yeah, you'd think.
But it also looks really good.
Yeah.
But both of those, and
Kirby.
Yeah, new Kirby game. And the other game that I'm really excited about, primarily because I know I'm going to play it with my kid, is the new Yoshi game. Mm-hmm. And they're building the new Yoshi game in Unreal Engine 4, which I think sort of funny.
Did they show any of the gameplay for that one?
Yeah, it is. Again, it's kind of a kidsy not paper mache, but it's sort of a storybook, kind of look like some of the other games. But it all operates on sort of a foreground background concept where you're playing between a foreground and a background, and levels, I think, will even rotate, have two different sections. It's a 2D platformer, but it's sort of that quasi 3D, or where you work between two planes.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So it looks really interesting. It looks like it'll be really fun. I'm sure that me and my kiddo will really enjoy playing it. But I was happy to see it as well. But yeah, definitely. There were those, there's some games like that have come out, like Arms apparently is really good, even though I haven't played it yet. And it's already out, but that looks like and it's a new good IP. I mean, it's, I always say Nintendo needs to make new IPs. Well, they're making some new IPs and they look pretty good. Splatoon 2 is going to be awesome, I think.
Yeah, that's not a new IP, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not a new IP, but it's recent,
Yes, it is, yeah.
And there's a new Fire Emblem game coming, which will be really good. I'm kind of getting a little tired of Fire Emblem, honestly.
Yeah. Didn't they announce something about Advance Wars?
If they did, I didn't hear it.
Oh, I kind of thought... okay, I don't know. I'll have to check and see about next time. But I swear they announced that they were going to release Advance Wars, either sequel or the original one, or doing something with that. I don't know what. I
don't know. And then again, I already mentioned it earlier, but the other thing I'm really excited about is being able to play Rocket League on the Switch.
Yeah.
And supposedly, or at least apparently, it's going to be 60 frames a second, handheld or docked or undocked.
Yeah,
it's supposed to play really well and all that kind of thing. And,
they kind of have to with that game, which makes sense. So,
and it's also going to be cross-platform, so you can play with your Xbox friends or your PC friends. You can't play with your PlayStation friends.
Yeah,
PlayStation says no.
Yeah, and they said who knows why or whatever. But I mean, I play on. Yeah, that would be nice, but it's not like we could find each other. It's just more like that's the pool that they would.
Yeah,
find
it's
from.
just a pool of random players that you would be pulling from.
But a lot of people play that game, and I think it's a great game. I've heard some people say, "Well, it's an old game," but it's an old game. It's a great game. So
so is Minecraft, and everybody buys it. It's
yeah. So again, it's just sometimes people complain just to complain when a new game comes out. When it's a way to reach a new audience that wouldn't have seen it before. And it's also a great game. Definitely one of the funnest games. One of the best times I've had playing a game that's made me feel like a kid in a long time. Rocket League is a ton of fun. Is that kind of it for the most part from the big things that we're... I think I'm sure we're missing some things, but it's...
those are some of the highlights.
All right. Well, we'll kind of wrap things up. We're an independent podcast. We really appreciate reviews. We really appreciate any emails you guys send, especially iTunes. Kind of helps us get on the map a little better. And we always say we'll read reviews, good or bad. And we've got a couple new ones real quick we can read.
Yeah, I have to read this one because it's from K-Fred, the Rat Monkey.
All right.
Wrote this one.
K-Fred.
It says, new favorite podcast. Podcast is amazing.
Nice.
Can 100% relate to the gaming family juggle of everyday life. These guys are very entertaining. Keep it up, guys.
Oh, thanks.
And then the next one says, where are the sponsors? Good question.
Oh, that's funny.
Great podcast, great people, clean fun, very entertaining. Have hit a market no one else has. I don't know why companies are not sending these guys products to review or sponsoring them. Keep it up, guys. You're doing great work. Just to be clear, we did not write this.
Yeah, I know that sounded like I was like, that
totally sounds like something we would have written, but we didn't.
No, that's really nice. Like,
I mean, if companies want to send us stuff, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But honestly, here's something else we make a joke here, haha, word from our sponsor. But I listen to a lot of really big podcasts, in the top 2% where they're getting hundreds of thousands of downloads. And they have trouble getting sponsors. You know what I mean? I feel like we could always do the whole,
I think we need to start making up fake sponsors.
Yeah. We might as well.
Yeah.
Nabisco, the Keebler Elf.
No, those are real.
Oh, you mean fake products?
Fake products. Yeah.
All right. I think
all the stuff they advertise on that game, you don't know Jack or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
okay.
but that won't go over well.
Well, anyway, I was saying was the big review shows we could do hey, follow us on netflix.com/videogamedads or blueapron.com/ those are just ways to. The reason why, we could go that route for a sponsor, but the problem with that is with our people listening, if there's going to be one or two that do that, what are we going to get, $1 or $2? And all that's going to do
actually we're not going to get paid very much for doing it.
Yeah, and I feel like if the big companies are doing that, then that kind of means I just feel like that might be wasting your guys' time. So we probably, I say that now and watch next week, will be Hulu. We probably won't do those just code things because then anybody can do it and you just sign up for them.
Unless Nike sends me some of those self zip up shoes.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be hawking Nikes on this thing.
Shoot, we'll do a plumber. And you could just sponsor a episode, I guess. But really, it's like what I appreciate the most, and I think Adam does too, and of course Shane, is just feedback from you guys because that's the motivation we get. Because we're tired. It's the end of the day. It's late. I have half an hour drive to get home, stuff like that.
And
it's
10 o'clock, and I've been up since like 4:45 this morning.
Yeah, me too. And I was long shift, and it's like really what helps us with our motivation is you guys and your feedback. We really appreciate that. You got another one of those?
Yeah. So here we go. Can't Stop Too Good. And this one says, Dad or not, I am as well. This is a great gaming podcast. Living through the 80s until now, the industry has changed drastically. These guys work well together. And even allow me time to listen when my kids are around. It's nice to hear about the older titles brought up, and it only adds to the memory lane from childhood. Thanks a lot, gents, for the shared experiences.
Thank you.
Don't change a thing. Listening from week one will keep with you until you call it quits.
Awesome. Thank you.
Which won't be anytime soon, I don't think.
And that's it for the iTunes reviews. We really appreciate those. Thank you so much. It helps us get seen more when people are searching. So if you leave us any iTunes reviews, we'll definitely read them on the show. So thank you for all that feedback. Really appreciate it. The other one wasn't from iTunes, but it's actually from another podcast, kind of gaming podcast, so to speak. It's called Why Are You Listening to This Podcast? That's literally the title of it, which is aptly named because they always say that. Like, why are you listening to this podcast? They talk about, it's two guys. One of them is Joshua, and the other guy, I think his name's Rich. He's a Canadian. They're funny, so I think it's a good yin and yang for our podcast because, we're clean. This podcast totally not. It's like Howard Stern. Some of their episode names will give you a good idea that they're definitely adult rated. But you know what? They're highly entertaining. They're friends, you can tell, and their sound quality is really good. The editing is really good. They talk about games, not as much as say we do, but they definitely know their stuff. In fact, one of the guys I had no idea that the original Xbox has that capacitor.
Oh, the capacitor, yeah.
Yeah, has the capacitor.
The leaky capacitor.
Yeah, has a leaky capacitor, and the guy, the Canadian on there, which is funny because he cusses a lot, and hearing a Canadian cuss is like seeing a unicorn. It's really interesting because he's got that kind of little twang to his what am I trying to say? His accent or whatever.
Yeah, the oohs and the A's.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, sure, and it's kind of funny to hear. But anyway, they know their stuff about games, and the other guy, Josh. I've been listening to him for a while, and I shout out to him and appreciate the things. Say, hey, listen to our podcast. And I was kind of worried because they speak their mind, and I love how truthful they are, and they are no bones about it if they say anything. And they gave us a nice recommendation on their last one. They were like, they gave us crap for our name, how generic, and which
is
said,
true. Yeah,
we have said
we
from
own
day
that.
one, we own that just for searchability. He's like, video game, Dad. It's like, what? I don't want to listen to this. There's nothing else. But he said he did bring himself to listen to it, and he was pleasantly surprised and had some nice things to say. He said we were very how can you put this? Like when you don't rub someone the wrong way, you're just like. Anyway, that's kind of what
we were unabrasive.
Unabrasive.
Yeah.
He said he's like normally that would be boring, but it wasn't. So anyway, it was appreciate him shouting us out on his podcast. And like I said, if you want kind of something, if we are just too vanilla for you, these guys are right up your alley. But it's called Why Are You Listening to This Podcast? Jaco99 JACO and the Why Are You Listening to This.com. They're on all the other. Places you'd normally find a podcast if you guys are itching to find something else. And they're also kind of older guys too. I think they're both like 40s. So they're they've been around this for a while, which if you're kind of want something from that demographic, listen to them. But anyway, we appreciate that review from them and that shout out from them. So
I wanted to reiterate that, Shane is not with us because his daughter Lexi does have her diagnosis of cancer, and we're doing everything that we can to support them. Yeah. And if you help support us, you're helping support them as well. So if you're interested in donating to her GoFundMe or helping out in any way, go to our Facebook page and find us there. There's a link to the GoFundMe.
Yep.
You can message us on Facebook. You can send us an email at videogamedads@yahoo.com.
Yep.
Or get us at videogamedads. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
Yep. And we plan on doing this too when we go to our next convention. We'll talk about that more in the episodes coming up. But when we go to the Missouri Game Con, a big aim we're going to have is try to fundraise as best we can. Maybe we're even going to try to get a tournament or something.
Yeah,
going.
Perhaps.
We'll make some
details coming.
Yeah, details coming. But we're excited because that show sounds like they're going to get a really good guest list. Yeah, thankful. And of course, like we said, we're speaking for Shane, but Shane and his family really appreciate any of the feedback we get. Really appreciate it from our listeners. So thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. I think this will do for our episode 15.
Episode 15.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for listening. We will have another episode 2 weeks from now. It will be July. That's freaking crazy. Be safe. We will have some 4th of July stories, I'm sure.
We will. Don't blow any fingers off.
Don't blow any fingers
Your
up.
goal for the next 2 weeks is don't lose a digit.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and especially from Shane. Hopefully we did him a service. I know this isn't the same podcast without him. For sure. We will welcome him back when he's back, but we're going to keep the lights on for him until that happens. Thanks a lot for listening, and we will see you next time. Episode 15 is in the books.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed that music, please check out Evan King on Bandcamp for further details, and you can download some for yourself. Thank you.
Bye-bye.